So welcome back, everybody. Please take a seat, settle yourself. We would like to continue with session 2 of our symposium. I hope everyone had time to grab a coffee after lunch and that you all enjoyed lunch. So please get back to your seats. We will continue. So welcome to the session 2 of the UNIMA Symposium Puppetry on Borders. The session 2 is about the interdisciplinary borders. We will hear some practice-based research, and we will be soaked up in the borders between tradition versus contemporary, text and dramaturgy, plastic and visual works, puppetry, education and therapy, and how puppetry can be an agent of cultural and social transformation, going even into the world of the spirits and the spiritual world. And for the session 2, I would like to invite Richard Bouchard to the stage. Richard is a self-taught puppeteer and a puppet designer since 1978, which is quite a while. It's really impressive. He's also the founder of the Popular Puppet Center in Canada, so you're from Canada, and also established the National Puppet School, ENAM, École Nationale d'Apprentissage par la Marionnette, of which he is artistic director and general director, and has also already produced over 30 shows there. Next, I would like to welcome Clément Perret-Yatko, sorry for the misspelling now, to the stage, who is secretary of TEMA, the Association Nationale des Théâtres des Marionnettes et des Arts Associés. He also is a puppet theater director and graduate of the École Supérieure Nationale des Arts de la Marionnette. A lot of French words. And he is also, he received last year the Michael Meschke Prize for his efforts to support puppetries in difficult circumstances. And I would like to point this out because this is a very special award and it's really cool that you got it. Next, I would like to invite and present Katie Foley from the USA, who is a distinguished research professor of performance, play, and design at the University of California in Santa Cruz. You have done a lot of teaching, and what is really amazing is that you were the first non-Indonesian to perform as a dalang in the Indonesian National Wayang Festival. So welcome you three, and I will give the stage to you and to your presentations.
Hi tout le monde. Because I not speak English very good, I have make a video for you. Voici.
Hello members of UNIMA Korea and UNIMA International. My name is Richard Bouchard from Saguenay in Quebec, Canada. I've had puppets in my life since 1978. I was an actor and I built puppets of all kinds without knowing that. I was self-taught. In 1981, I created a puppet show for the first time with a group of 23 children, 2/3 of whom were considered problem cases at school. At the age of 24, although I already had a talent for acting and teaching, I knew absolutely nothing about puppet therapy. But I love working with troubled children and was already very patient about their learning. So we created La Mer Ensorcelée, the Bewitched Sea, a metaphor for pollution. This puppet show was certainly premonitory, as it foretold the flu pandemic created by an accident when a witch dropped her magic mixture into the stream of her cave, creating a catastrophe in the sea by contaminating the aquatic fauna. This educational project from 1981 fits in perfectly with the goal I've set for myself today. So it's with this adventure that I approach my theme of multidisciplinary puppetry without borders. I emphasized this experience with these children in 1981 because this adventure made me discover the power of puppetry when we integrate children who are said to be problem children into a creative pedagogical project with the playground of puppetry art. In fact, it all started for me with this project, since its positive and multiple impacts on the children were already very significant. This project had enabled these young people to make important realizations and initiate a significant transformation that would change their lives. And so, on the school ground, several children had succeeded in crossing the threshold of their own painful limits, which they encountered on a daily basis. Those famous boundaries which certainly seemed to them and to others to be impossible to cross. Listen to this testimonial from a young participant at the time who expresses his awareness and his understanding of the creative process. We did awareness exercise, then he helped us to draw, to create a character. After we start to build our puppets, we started with the head, with plastic cans, we cut them out, we placed the cases together, we glued them together. We did that, and now today it's a show. We thought of everything, and it came from our imagination. I created a character with vacuum. It was like a vacuum cleaner, a sweeper. Uh, it picked up all the garbages, the bad garbages, chocolate wrappers, bags of chips, liquor bottles, food. It worked like this. And I did the aspirator nose.
Oh, petite, petite laitue. Des tomates. Poudou, avec du des, la mayonnaise.
Quick anecdote from Richard Boudrias-Bouchard, the first puppet in the world to run as a candidate of the Rhinoceros Party of Canada. He was officially registered in the Canadian federal election as Richard Bouchard Boudrias. He received over 7% of the votes. Now let's hear about Pierre, Steve, and Sylvie from La Fabrique Culturelle. Salvation through art. When we create, we sublimate morbid thoughts sometimes. When we create, we do an activity which satisfies the ego and satisfies the need to be useful. Instead of having a crisis or taking medication, well, for me, it allowed me to evacuate the overflow with characters, with puppets, by making them, perhaps giving them a name, an identity. Art is useful to society. Here, we come together to accomplish a common work, then a useful work. Because it's no joke to come here, to do what we have to do, that it's useful for mental well-being or mental health. By the end of seeing others amazed by what we're doing, that's when the people, the team, realized the things I was capable of doing that I didn't think I was able of doing anymore. I discovered that I was capable of doing that. I never composed a song in my whole life. I had trouble reading, writing too, but with Enam, it's like magic. It's like, oh, I composed something. Kind of opened the curtains for me. When I was going through withdrawal, it was the puppet that helped me to get rid of it. The moments when I wondered, am I going to stop? Am I going to be able to stop? Should I go on? Because sometimes I'd go back to Enam frustrated. But when I'd come out in the afternoon, it was gone. The suffering seems to be expressed in other ways. When you're withdrawn and you can express yourself with your mouth because you're expressing yourself through plays, or you express yourself with painting. That's it for me. The puppets in the room, hanging everywhere, for me, it's everyone's suffering that has been evacuated. It's like the trophy, the experience of something that came out of the person. It's like if I say, oh, I've managed to get off drugs and I've created a character of an alcoholic or drug addict, and here he is now. He's no longer here. He stayed in the puppet. In 2020, Catherine Dufour's text L'Homme sans visage was published in the prestigious American magazine Puppetry International. This is following the presence of a delegation of the UNIMA professionals attending the 13th edition of the Festival International de la Marionnette du Saguenay in July 2015. The adventure began with the presence of Mr. Henrik Julkowski, co-founder of the Institut International de la Marionnette in Charleville-Mézières, France, and honorary member of the Union Internationale de la Marionnette, and Nancy Staub, an equally famous puppeteer from the United States. Julkowski wrote about his time in Saguenay, and for many members of the delegation, the Enam was a discovery and a coup de cœur with this metaphor for the faceless man, a creation of Catherine Dufour's story adapted for puppet theaters.
Pauvre toi, regarde ta solitude et regarde à quel point la tribu s'en sort mieux sans toi. Regarde comme tu es laissé pour compte. Si tu veux ta rédemption, il te faut regagner ce qui te fait tant envie. L'envie, c'est moi, et c'est tout autant toi. C'est vouloir tant de choses que tu n'as plus. Vois comme ce serait beau d'être accepté, même un peu. Mais tu sais, tu peux retrouver ton visage.
Ma chambre a la forme d'une cage. Le soleil passe son bras par la fenêtre. Les chasseurs à ma porte comme les petits soldats qui veulent me prendre. Je ne veux
Des petites voix Marcel, a métaphore par Marcel Boudreau. The sketch tells the story of a man, Martin, who is plagued by small, intrusive voices. These little voices are a result of a traumatic experience he had with two girls. These voices, which have infiltrated him, constantly accuse him of being responsible for their misfortune, since they became pregnant by him, a completely irresponsible man.
Tu sais, Martin, tu as fait des erreurs très graves dans ta vie.
Continuez à être négatif. Je vous fous de la poubelle.
He has now become ill and is being treated by a psychologist. But he is not coping, until the day he decides to confront them and throw the Voices puppet into the garbage can. Marcel has performed this sketch 20 times at conferences at the Université du Québec, à Chicoutimi, in Montreal, and à l'UNIMA. Today, he still lives with his little voices, but they have become harmless and no longer have an influence on him. At l'UNIMA, it prevented me from thinking about my problems I was experiencing, and I didn't live my days in the same ways. I was busy, it kept me occupied, I was doing beautiful activities, beautiful things, so I reproduced that. When I got out of there, I had the experience, and the experience wasn't the same. You could say that things have improved 99% because ever since he was a child, despite the difficulties he had, he was never accepted in society. When he came to Vietnam, he was really accepted and appreciated. That's what made it grow. It gave him self-confidence. He saw that he was able of doing things too. What we do here today is real. Carole Girard, actress and participant. Hi, how are you? I'm fine. Without art, I don't know where I'd be today. I've managed to think about other things and to live other things than just gambling. I've had a big void, and then I couldn't see the reason of this big void. I was very, very suicidal then, and I was hospitalized every year, at least 3 months a year, for 6, 7 years before I get to know the Yanam. Oh! Oh! Are you God? No. I'm the one giving you the life. Ah, you transmit the life. The puppet becomes the instrument of purgation. In other words, the person will free himself by taking his puppet and expressing a side of himself. He passes it on to his puppet and free himself. Richard, he brings a lot to the table. I mean, he's not a boss here, he's not like a high ranking. He's just like one of us. He puts himself on the same level as us, and I think that's why it works. I accept the invitation and I embark on this new adventure. In my heart, I know I've reached this point in my life, and it gives me the hope for a new beginning. a place where I can be who I am, to work on myself and learn to manage my emotions. I've been lucky enough to participate in the ENAM program for 18 months now. It's a place where I've rediscovered the meaning of my life. With its many activities, I found a framework and a routine. It helped me to see my strengths and discover who I was. I also helped me find my identity and restore my self-confidence. It gave me back self-esteem and my self-esteem as a mother, which I completely lost. Inam is not only helped me, it also helped my two daughters to find their mother back.
Devant nous, le soleil nous guide, les rêves sont là, les nains.
I joined in February 2009. It was a very good choice I made, the best choice I've made in my life. I don't mind saying it at all. Before, I might have hidden it, but now I'm happy about it. I say, okay, I'm sick, this is the end of my life, but still, I work. I'm proud of that. I learned to accept myself as I am and accept who I really was. This is how I am. And I have fun now doing it. But before I could only see my flaws and I just wanted to hide. Go hide yourself. Today I don't feel like hiding anymore. When I get here, I'm not here anymore. It's like a child who falls in a ball game and has fun and arrive just like that. There's no sadness. I'm sad when my head hurts and I get dizzy. I know I got my place and I know that if anything happens, I'll discuss it with the rest of you and we'll be understood. We're totally understood. That's the fun of it. You don't feel psychologically. Oh no. On the contrary, it lightens my load. The more it goes, the lighter it gets. I'd seen the phone man. That was it. For me, it's just like it was me. I didn't need to speak. I made people laugh just by making gestures. That's me. I don't need to talk, just making gestures and making people laugh. I did the little phone man sketch and I'm glad I did it. It's a way of exposing something that you're not able to say. And hey, it's fun. Changed my life. You get to do things you're capable of doing. Things you didn't even know you could do. And then you're doing it, you're having fun. That's really where you work where you're having fun, which is quite rare. And it's very important. Yes, it's very important. You see that you're changing. It's always good. It's always for the best. Always for the best. Thank you, Richard. In 2012, Monique put together a sketch with Petit Bonhomme en Mousse. This character was created by Jordi Bertrand from Barcelona, who in 2012 went to the ENAM and worked alongside with Monique. Monique left this world in 2013. To conclude, to see people considered incapable of doing things and to see them flourish thanks to the puppetry arts is a profound happiness for me. The innovative approach we've created and tested for over 34 years deserves to be the basis of an international university and college continuing education project somewhere in the world. When the art of puppetry lands on the terrain of mental health and education, when puppetry enables us to transcend our own inner boundaries, when people say they have learned to know themselves better through creativity and resilience, it's essential to be curious and attentive, and to pursue our research and expertise in this privileged field. Puppetry is a universal playground, a powerful and meaningful medium. The concept of l'ENAM, comprehensive interdepartmental approach to mental health and education, is easy to understand in graphic illustration. There are no longer any boundaries separating us from our culture, education, health, and work. Puppets in mental health and education are sources of happiness and discovery for human beings. They enable us to rise ever higher, to transcend our thinking towards more creative horizon and more open-minded self-improvement. hope and the dawn of a solution that will meet our expectation will be a balm in the fragile lives of the vulnerable people around us. Thank you for your attention.
Clément, will you just continue and we will keep our questions for the discussion after the presentations.
Un, deux. No, it's not mine. I don't know what to do. Is it okay for the PowerPoint? Because it was not mine. Yeah. Ah, yeah, okay. Oh. Another things happen. Yeah, I just need, sorry. Up. Okay. Yeah, thank you. First of all, I would like to apologize for my hairstyle. I have no idea what come over me that day. It was 20 years ago. But it was my very first puppetry solo on the screen. And I work this day with Michael Meschke, so I'm very glad to begin this presentation with these pictures. At the time, this image was used by the International Institute of Puppetry in Charleville to illustrate the relationship between the body and the object. But no one spoke about the deeper meaning of my project. It was to portray the misfortune of the Albanian people through an allegory. The black figure there represents a ghost, so it's me. A superstition that haunts the white figures. This concept was inspired by a powerful image from a Kosovar Albanian poet whose name is Ali Podrimia, and who used it to express the deep distress of the Albanian people. So I'm Clément Peretjatko. You present me a little bit before. I would like to tell you about my artistic journey that wave between traditional forms and contemporary writing, between craftsmanship and social engagement, between fiction and memory. My path has taken me to more than 20 countries, often in tense context, country of war, society in reconstruction, displaced population. In those places, puppetry revealed itself to me as an essential form, because it allows us to say what cannot be said otherwise, because it crosses borders of language, of culture, of time, and also of the body. Today, I would like to explore with you the power of contemporary puppetry, how through dialogue with ancient form, it becomes a tool of transformation, resistance, and meaning, how it's work to reinvent our relationship to the world. So I would like to first talk about my engaging with traditional forms. Yeah, it's work. I'm not seeking to preserve a tradition, but to circulate and revive it. When I work with forms like the vertep or caragueuse, I ask myself, what did these forms say about their time? And what can they still say about ours? The vertep is an itinerant theater born in the 17th century in Ukraine. It is a I can go back. Yeah, sorry, I don't have it in the screen. So it is the upper level. So it is a 2-level puppet stage. You can maybe see it there. The upper level for sacred scene represents the nativity, and the lower for secular, comic, sometimes political ones. This double structure fascinates me. It set up a theater where divine and earthly, myth and satire coexist, and where the audience is free to shift between them. So I also draw on Karagöz, the Ottoman shadow theater, where the central characters, Karagöz, question authorities, mock the powerful, and represent a popular, irreverent, and inventive voices. So I would like to talk about my first work. Yes. This is a work with shadows for the performance Vane. Vane is from the writing of Croatian poet Radovan Ivčić, a poet of refusal, of surrealism and insubordination. Ivčić turned language into a seat of rupture, not a language of communication, but one of apparition. Words become bodies, flashes, and forgettings. This poet, Ivčić, I met him just before his death. I don't know why it's not in the... Yeah. Ivčić collaborated with Juan Miro, and this encounter between word and image inspired me. So this is what Miro drew for Radovan Ivčić. In my work in Vane, I want shadows to become a poetic space. Shadows doesn't illustrate, but thinks. It sculpts silence, it conjures ghost. The puppet is no longer a character, but a form, trace, movement. It reveals what escapes the eyes, what cannot be painted on. Yeah. So for several years, I've been developing puppet theater in areas where stories are broken, blurred, or censored. In Kosovo and Albania, for example, I explore underground economy and post-socialism disillusionment. I work on issue of the veil, Muslim veils, patriarchy, and multiple identities. In Ukraine, I question war, mourning, and reconstruction. Each time, puppetry allowed me to propose narrative without spectacular driving violence, but with symbolic depth. I call it a porous dramaturgy built from signs, materials, and ruptures. Puppetry allows for ambiguity. It doesn't say, that is what happened. It asks, and you, what do you see? What do you feel? So this picture is about my work, Maidan Inferno. Maidan Inferno is a play by a Ukrainian writer whose name is Neda Nejdana, which I directed first in France, then in Ukraine in 2022. It was born of urgency to give poetic and sensitive form to the event of the Maidan Revolution in Ukraine in 2014, not as raw testimony, but for a frozen drama. So this text, Maidan Inferno, has 3 levels of dramaturgy, of writing, closely tied to the staging. I don't know what's happened with, oh, yes. The interludes inside this dramaturgy performed with puppets portray 7 characters on Maidan Square, anonymous yet emblematic figures. The actors manipulate them in full view, creating a direct relationship with the audience. The monologue is the second level of the performances, delivered by 2 main characters, Anya and Orest, 2 central young characters. Let's unfold in intimacy and memory. And the third level is the social media chorus, embodied by the actors, evokes the digital flow, the circulation of words, image, and instructions on Twitter, Skype, Facebook. These fourth collective characters make tangible the fundamental role of digital tools in organizing the revolution. Rather than copying the vertep form, I sought to resonate with its deeper symbolic function, a theater of sacred and profane, of people and allegory, of the public square. A theater which, in its Ukrainian tradition, brings together a heavenly and an earthly stage, where biblical story meets everyday life and satire is never far from prayer. The Ukrainian director, whose name Oksana Dmitrieva from Kharkiv, one day she told me, the vertep symbolically lays out the distinction between good and evil. That insight deeply influenced my approach. I didn't want to offer a binary vision, but rather convey the moral complexity of choice made in civil war, when each person must decide whether to act, to remain silent, to flee, or to resist. Maidan Inferno doesn't portray revolution as an ideologic block, but as a space of moving through, where bodies, voice, and dreams strive to survive together. The play stages this constant circulation between commitment and fear, between love and loss, between ideal and violence. The puppets made of paper are fragile, intentionally non-naturalistic, and they reflect this state of tension. They don't mimic a reality, but offer a space for projection. They become porous body in which anyone may inscribe their own experience of the Maidan revolution. On stage, this is very strange what's happened with this telecommand. On stage, concrete bars manipulated by the actors became barricades, network, weapon, podiums. These raw materials with the lightness of the puppets. It evokes the weight of reality, of limit, of entrapment. The sound of the bar clashing recalls the shield struck together by protesters for courage. This sound becomes heartbeat, common pulse, political breath. At one point, the main characters, Anya, she says, Maidan is alive, as if it were the rhythm of my earth. Perhaps this is where the play connects with the essence of the traditional vertep, in this airbeat between the individual and the collective, between hope and despair, between action and song. The play's final line is a slogan from the French Revolution, now taken up by many Ukrainians. It's liberty or death. But this cry is not simplistic. It carries doubts, wounds, and inner resolve. The show ends in fundamental ambiguity. Are the heroes alive? Did they survive? And are they in the other life? The answer remains open because the revolution continues. In one of the final monologue, the second main characters, Oreste, he quotes Dante. He said, "The hottest place in hell are reserved for those who, in time of crisis, remain neutral." But then he adds, here, so it's the fire that saves us. Everything is upside down. It's a world turned inside out. That's why Maidan Inferno aims to say that in the fire of collective action, it taking risk in shared world, something human resist, against chaos, against cold, against isolation. And I believe that puppetry is the right medium to carry such experience, because it's embodied without imposing, because it allows us to explore thresholds between the living and the dead, history and myths, memory and the present. So I would like now to talk about some of my work in the Balkan, in Kosovo and Albania. So in this performance, the name is The Scammers. It's a play by Ilirian Bejani, who is an Albanian poet, about the Albanian economical crisis. I work with actors from Kosovo on a vibrant framework. Together, we built a beating comedy somewhere between farce and popular theater. It features mistaken identity, disgrace, absurd twist, and the spirit of Karagoz, that sharp-eyed observers who mock power with irony. I would like to talk about another performance whose name is The Collapse of the Eiffel Tower by the playwright from Kosovo, Yetan Nezirai. I was asked to draw the puppet inside this performance. So puppets enact an Ottoman fable created by the playwright. In this fable, a soldier distributes veils to the women of the Balkans. We approach this scene with dark humor, opening space for reflection on religious injunction, past and present. In both cases, puppetry allowed us to perform ambiguity, to provoke laughter without denying pain, to navigate social tension with distance. I advocate for a puppetry without borders, one rooted in tradition, but reaching towards the future. A puppetry that dupes, that searches, that shifts perspective. It may be sacred or satirical, lyrical or grotesque, but it always questions. It gives voice to those who are not heard. It makes shadows into language. It turns fragility into strange. And I believe, now more than ever, that puppetry is an art of poetic resistance, an art that doesn't claim to say everything, but invites us to see differently. Thank you for listening.
All right. Ecology, entanglement. Is this working? Yes. Ecology, entanglement, and Wayang. Cracking the cosmic egg and implications for environmental understandings. Genesis. In the beginning, God created heaven and earth. The earth was without form and void. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. The Gospel of St. John. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and the Word became flesh and dwelt amongst us. Jesus. The first surah of the Quran. In the name of God, the infinitely compassionate, the merciful, praise be to the God, the Lord of the world. You alone we worship. You alone we adore. I begin this discussion of sustainability, ecology, Wayang, arguing that there's a contrast between the cosmogony and cosmology that underlies Abrahamic religions and Wayang. These Abrahamic narratives emphasize the divine as above, beyond, separate from our material world. The Old Testament tells us by God's actions, materiality us humans and other things, come into the world with relatively little back and forth until we die. Christianity says that divinity came into the world once, when the world was made flesh, but then has gone back, and we wait again until our death to reunite fully with that. In Islam, we are totally dependent upon the divine. It is what we worship, what we adore. So there's a separation of that divinity and creation, and I believe that has implications for us in our sometimes faulty materiality. Nature, plants, animals, elements, the cosmos. Genesis remit says we humans are pretty far up there. We have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, over every living thing. We're the boss. Such ideas are expanded in Renaissance Christianity's great chain of being, with God, of course, on top, angels. There are a few people that come before us, but we're pretty high up on that sphere. Even our Darwinian science invites us to think of Genesis sort of backwards, from going from a microorganism kind of simplicity to our big-brained complexity. But it still argues for this kind of natural selection that favors the fittest. That's us. Western tales put humans on top of a pyramid of control, and the divine is habitually out of this world. Wayang is different. Eka adidasa purva, hanacharaka, darasawala, parajayanya, magabatanya. This is part of the opening mantra that you do when you do a wayang, and you're holding up in front of you. Let me see if we have it. The kayon, the tree of life, which is a representation of the everything in your puppet chest, in your world, in your village. It's 1, 10, that's sort of 1 to 10 counts out the cosmos. Hanacharaka, there is a story. 2 were sent, that's the self. Equal in power, both win death. I'll get later to the Aji Saka story that this is about. But it is the 4 directions, which you could lay out like this, north, south, east, and west, or you can lay out like this, but I can't do it with the microphone. There are 4 directions that put each of you as the center. And there is no duality of good and bad. There's only down and all of that that is driving you so much for much of your life. And that, and then what we do with these 2 hands that become part of the metaphor of what this beginning reminder of the everything of each of us and how that encompasses the universe. So it's a relationship between the microcosm, which is the human, the tree, which is represented in the kayon. Another name for it, of course, is the mountain, the gunungan. And if you look at it, it is the beautiful garden. It's you on your beautiful day. And the flip side is you when you are your most destructive and most exploding and most schizophrenic. And the volcano and the comet that's smashing into your world, or the tsunami that's coming up, the war that has been referenced today, the kinds of trauma within. Those are all within this puppet, within you as the performer. And what you are doing in a wayang is representing that cosmos. And it's not a one-time visit of the divine. The divine is potentially always there, right within the story, right within you. And the demonic is also there. It's the refined divine on this hand, and the demonic that's right over here. And the battle that you all fight in life is just the battle of the right hand versus the left. Anyway, Wayang suggests that a person is a movable center, both of a material and an immaterial world. We're both divine and demonic in our dimensions. We constantly are entangled both with the lahir, the surface of us, and the batin, that inner spirit that we need to find and cultivate. This includes the natural world as well. We ideologically, at least in art, have permeable borders. We are the plant, the tree. We are the mountain. We are the animals that we put on and play with. We are all the spiritual and the demonic domains. So, if I had more time, I would go through the dance that you do with this figure at the beginning of the show that marks out the 4 directions, divide them into quadrants and other things like that. Today, I'm going to primarily do the more Islamic version, which is the 4 directions and the 4 dimensions, rather than the more elaborated versions that you'd see in Bali and other places, although I reference them for beginning. But if you just take this puppet and hold it up against your body, it's human-sized. And the lotus that's right up here at the top is right the place of your third eye, if you can ever get to it. And the demons that are down on the bottom, or the pool, which is the female womb, the male principles or things like that, that's the lower things. And this represents earth, air, water, fire, all the elements within it. Anyway, let's keep on going. So if you hold it up, you'll see that there is probably some relation in a lot of the earlier versions of the Kion. You'll see certain chakra points. The most important one is usually going up. Often it's right here. This is a chakra that if you can get through, you can go toward the top of your sphere, and it allows you to move toward a more enlightened thing. But what you're playing with is a 6-foot sphere of the storyteller who is bringing out within their play the story of the universe, which is this battle that occurs within us, occurs within our families, occurs within our societies, occurs within the cosmos, as we have war, as we have eruptions, all those other things. So, where does this come from? Certainly on Java and Bali, it has relationships to early ideas of Hindu, first Hindu, but then also transformations into Buddhist dimension. It is really similar, as I go on, to ideas of nyasa, if any of you know what that is, putting syllables on different parts of your body, usually moving from the more lower and demonic things toward the higher. You can do that by visualizing it as different gods, it might be. In the story of a Ruatan, which is a healing kind of performance, there is a demon who has written on his body certain kinds of mantra that have to be read by the puppeteer, and that frees him from his demonic thing. And he is, of course, also the son of the high god of the universe, so it's not like the gods. Part of this probably comes from earlier things, Malayo-Polynesian sort of ideas of heaven above. Volcanoes seem to play into it as well, because it's out of that eruption and destruction that we create the island or the world that we live in. It goes into the threes, which is the mountain, the volcano, the ocean down there, and it's the fields or the village in between, and those usually get divided into right, left, male, female, black, white, all of those things. That early kind of dualism seems more associated with the Malayo-Polynesian kinds of things that begin. So we're getting out of time. I better rush on. Hanacharaka Datasawala is a story of Ajisaka, the great culture bringer, who has these two people who are sent and win death. It's the creation of literacy, but it's also the creation of two-ness and duality in the world. It gets expanded into the 8 directions in Bali, if you spend time there. It has resonances with ideas that you see in Tibetan Buddhism, Japanese Qigong, so it's a widely spread sort of thing having to do with this concept of nyasa. It has relationships to the I Ching and concepts of Nidan that we see in Chinese things that use the body in the same way as meditative forms. In Java, it gets articulated as the way we are born into the world, with the bloody show, the water, the umbilical cord, and the placenta, and is part of why placentas are divine and are related to the character of the clown, which in Indonesia is your older brother and spiritual thing. It affects us. They're also related to earth, air, water, fire. Those 4 clowns are really the spirit siblings of whoever is the spirit in a single show. And these kinds of borders get into long lists that you study like this, that have metals divided that way, that have earth, air, water, fire, that have colors, that have the directions, that have the way you build a village with a central one, and then smaller villages out to the 4 directions. These are things that are about borders. These are other visions of the 4 spirit siblings. You did not come alone into the world. When you are alone, you are always accompanied by your siblings. And this idea of the 4 directions gets encoded in stories. We see Kayons that have them on it. It's a reminder of why we have the 5 Pandava in the way they are articulated in Java, is about our spirit siblings, to remind us that there are not borders. And those spirit siblings may be the demonic version, the ogres that we fight, or they may be the kind versions, who are the clowns who go with us. They can be in their animal variations, which are the major animals you see on the Kayon or here, and they're always with you, as the clowns are in the puppet show. We see it in martial arts, the way choreography is set up in modern movies. And this is all something that came out of the cracking of the cosmic egg, and which, when you put it back together again, by your ability to show some of these ideas in a performance, to understand how they fit into narratives, you will put the universe back together again. You will heal yourself. You will only play wars on a puppet stage and not out in the world, because Wayang is about healing the world and realizing you are all entangled and connected with all those animals, with the divine, with the demonic. And if you can figure it out in your own self and share it with an audience, you'll heal the world. Thank you.
Thanks to you 3 for these very emotional presentations. I'm really touched. I hope you feel the same, everyone. I would like to invite Maxence to the stage to help with the French-English translations. So we will have a new face. Welcome. Excuse me. Yeah, I took the last line you said, Clément, that puppetry is the poetic of resistance. And I would like to add now, hearing all of your presentations, that puppetry also is the poetic of emotions. And I think this was just very clear to me now that one of the biggest quality of puppetry is that it brings emotion, it gives emotion, and this quality is border crossing in many, many ways. I have starting questions, except someone has an urgent question right now, so please just raise your hands and come into the discussion. Richard, first of all, I wanted to know, because we have seen the testimonies of all these people, and I wanted to know, what are the audience's reactions? So what is the feedback you receive from your audience back at the school in Canada?
Alors oui, c'est quand on présente les spectacles avec des personnes qui ont bâti complètement le spectacle. Alors nous, notre objectif, c'est de les protéger. C'est pour ça que souvent on enregistre les voix et le spectateur peut avoir un spectacle quand même d'une certaine qualité. Alors parce qu'on sait que c'est pas des professionnels, mais par contre le fait de présenter le spectacle, c'est très très bien reçu parce que en fait, ce sont des gens qui connaissent ces personnes, qui savent qu'ils ont des problèmes, et quand ils les voient, c'est souvent de la famille, c'est souvent des proches, alors là, ils découvrent que finalement, qu'il y a comme une éclosion, quelque chose qui s'ouvre. Alors les réactions sont vraiment très, très vives, très, très agréables pour eux, et c'est une façon de faire valoir le fait de présenter ce qu'ils font. Alors, c'est sûr que nous, les marionnettistes, on doit les accompagner là-dedans, puis les protéger aussi en même temps, pour qu'ils puissent connaître le succès, puis avoir accès à l'amour du public aussi, pour avoir un échange. Alors, ça se passe très bien finalement.
So what he said is that since most of these people are not professional, the role of the marionettist is to protect them. So usually for the voice, beforehand they record it so that during the presentation there is no issue. Usually the people who listen to the performance really enjoy it, because most of the time, since they are not professional, the people who watch the performances are family or people that know them. And so in this way they kind of try to discover again the person that they know in a different way. And so, as I said before, the role of the marionettist here is to try to protect them, this person who does the spectacle but who are not professional, and help them to show their emotion, show what they want to the public.
Si j'ajoute un petit point, les enfants au début, par exemple, c'est des enfants, le jeune qui avait fait le roi des eaux, dans le spectacle La Mère ensorcelée, avait doublé sa 3e année, sa 4e, et il était en train de doubler sa 5e année. Alors on disait de lui que c'était tel père, tel fils, parce que son père était alcoolique, et donc ça lui a permis de montrer un autre visage de lui-même.
So during the video, we were shown small kids, and this kid was actually not a really good student. He pretty much was going out of the school system, and a lot of people were saying that because his father was an alcoholic, it was the way that he was chosen. But thanks to the activity that he did, he was able to get a new point of view, a new way of expressing his feeling, and so he was able to get back into the system.
Et après, ça l'a débloqué, puis il a pu continuer ses études et réussir.
And it kind of unlocked him from this kind of bad energy, and he was able to success in his study.
Wow, it's really impressive. Clément, I have another question for you. You will just jump in at any time. I was wondering if you could like share a little bit more of your artistic process in like bringing together text and puppet and the creation. So I just want to have a little more insight into the interconnection of text and performance in your work. Thank you.
Yeah, good question. I like to work with a playwright. It's really something that it's the beginning of my work. You know, I need to speak with them, to read what they write, etc., and to be inside a universe or something like that. For example, when I was traveling in Kosovo, I met Yeton Neziray, I spoke about. I meet also Radovan Ivcic or Ilirian Bejani, so all these playwriters. And it was very important for me to, yes, it was the beginning of something. And it's not only to read what they did, but it's also to meet and to discuss with them. And after that, I choose by which way I will work with puppet. You know, it's the same about in Ukraine with Neda Nejdana. First of all, I meet her and yes, it was my introduction in Ukraine through playwright and also in Kosovo, etc. And after that, okay, I start to think about what can I do with them with this kind of text. And first, to be honest, no, it's not for puppetry. Okay, no, I will never use puppetry on this kind of dramaturgy. But after, because I'm a puppeteer, I find the way how to use it. And with Ilirian Bejani from Albania, it was important for me. I say, okay, it's a comedy. It's about, very funny. No. Oh, maybe Karagöz. Yeah, it's much. Yeah, we can. Yeah, maybe it's okay. So I need to learn more about Karagöz. But at the end, it's not a Karagöz performance. You know, it's just that the spirit of Karagöz inspired me. And it's the same, for example, with Neda Nejdana in Ukraine. I read this text and I say, oh, it's like a mystery. Mystery is the name of a theater who was performed in Middle Age in Europe, and because you have in one way else and in other paradise, you know, it's very clear on stage what's happened, and I say, okay, this text is maybe like that. Okay, so I continue to speak with her, with the playwright, say, oh, you know, it's like a mystery what you write. Oh yes, you are true, etc., etc. And just to give you an example, I spoke with another stage director in Ukraine. He was director of the theater of Mariupol. I want the theater of Mariupol is important for me because I also work there. So, and I say that to him, that this play, this drama is like a mystery, and he put it on stage before me, so that's nice. There is no competition, and in really in the way of a mystery with okay, so but with no puppet. So I'm glad of that. And but after I continue to think, and I choose to something close to the vertep Ukrainian traditional puppetry, because the vertep is also else on paradise, you know, something like that. So it's okay, yeah, if some puppeteer think about that 300 years ago, it's maybe that there is something there that I go deeply, etc. So that's why I try to learn as much as possible about vertep, etc., etc. But at the end, the show is not a vertep, or it's not a Karagöz, but I need it, yeah. And in Kosovo, it was also strange because I did shadow theater, and for Kosovar people, and also in Serbia, because we perform in Serbia, they said, oh yeah, it is Karagöz, but they don't, you know, because it is shadows. For them, it's obligatory Karagöz. Maybe they don't know what it is Karagöz. I don't know, but yeah. So sometimes it is strange. Yeah. But this is my way of working. Yeah. But at the end, at the beginning, all the time I say, no, it's not for puppet. But at the end, they arrive inside. And I'm not working too much with puppet theater also, because all this performance was done in theater, national theater in Ukraine, in Kosovo too. And it was their first experience with puppetry art too. So I work also with actors who are not puppeteers, or maybe just a little bit. For example, in Albania, Kosovo, during the dictatorship, the official actors of the National Theatre, when they did bad things, there was the authorities say to them, okay, we don't want to work with you anymore, so you go to work in the puppet theater for the end of your life. So yeah, no, that's they explained to me. So it was also the challenge for me to work with actors and for the audience too to come and to see a performance for adults with puppet. And because for a lot of them, puppet was supposed to be for children. So it's another part of the process inside my work too. Yeah.
It's a very interesting insight on the aspect of interdisciplinary border crossings, that this kind of like interdisciplinary border exists as well in between the performing arts disciplines, right?
Yeah, and I also can say that with the playwriter, they didn't accept to do it for puppetry. Mm-hmm. It was a challenge. It was something new for them to, okay, it's work with puppetry. Okay, we didn't know that. Yeah.
Are there any questions? Yes, please. Who was first? Yeah. There will be a microphone arriving. One moment. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Vengo de México.
He comes from Mexico.
Pertenezco al grupo Titeroterapia Sin Fronteras.
And he belongs to the company Titeroterapia Without Borders.
Hicimos una propuesta para participar en el simposio que no fue aceptada.
They applied to be participants for the symposium, but they weren't accepted.
Y es una lástima que no haya latinoamericanos dentro de los representantes.
And it's a pity there are not Latin Americans in the representation of the symposium.
Creemos en nuestro grupo que más allá de exaltar el ego de los titiriteros,
they believe that more than, like in the group, more than claiming the ego of the puppeteers,
debemos ir como Monsieur Bouchard a la espiritualidad, a la sanación de nuestras personas.
We should reach for the healing and the spirituality of people, as Mr. Bouchard has said before.
En la revista Tema, cuando la dirigía la compañera Emanuel, se publicó un artículo de títeres, sanación y espiritualidad.
In the Tema magazine, when Emanuel was publishing it, there was an article published, healing, spirituality, and yeah, I did. ¿Has dicho algo más? Sanación, espiritualidad. Like puppetry, healing, and spirituality.
Sabemos que nos vamos a convertir en polvo.
We know we all will turn into dust.
Y nuestro oficio viene de Dalang, viene de la sacralidad de Caragöz.
And our profession comes from the Dalang and from the professionality and the profession of Caragöz.
Y el origen chamánico de nuestro oficio lo pide.
And the origin, the shaman or spirituality origin of our profession asks for it.
Felicito a los panelistas, sobre todo a Bouchard, por este trabajo para curar el alma y el cuerpo de nuestras gentes con los títeres.
So I would like to acknowledge, to congratulate the work you've presented, and mostly to Bouchard, to heal the soul of the people through puppetry.
Y qué bueno que se hagan estos seminarios y que haya mucha gente de América Latina participando.
And it's so good that these symposiums are celebrated and there will be lots of people from Latin America presenting.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Would you like to react? But maybe a little hint. So the French magazine is also published online. So we all can read the articles that was published in Manip. I don't know which number, but I think we can all find out if we just go to the website. So just as a little information for everybody who doesn't know, it's also published online. So it's accessible for us to put this input as well into our thoughts. Thank you. Terence, you wanted to ask a question.
Hello. Yes, I have a question for Kathy. I wanted to ask you, as a Dalang, do you have a third eye? And well, I mean,
You have a third eye.
well, and that too. And but no, I mean, more seriously, I mean, did it change the way you looked at the world? Did it change the way you looked at your the environment around you, the plants, the animals, and so on? Did it change yourself as a person, as a being?
Yeah. I mean, when you're studying to be a Dalang, they give you all these mantra and other things like that. You memorize it, and they say it often enough, and you'll start to understand it. When I was a very young person, I was doing research on this, and everyone sent me to the oldest Dalang, and I said, "Hi, I'm here from America. I'm doing my PhD, and I'm going to be here for a year and write everything about Wayang." And he turned to me and said, "Yes, Wayang is very interesting. I have been studying it 75 years. I too am at the beginning of my study." And so, I mean, Wayang is a deep art that has been sort of perfected and changed over generations, but it's really by going inside the stories, by being the Dalang, you know, audiences can get pieces of it. But if you really want to understand how to miniaturize all these big conflicts and traumas or other things so that you can play them out with your one body and all those musicians and singers behind you, it's by being a Dalang. And, you know, you just have these moments goes, zap, oh my God, I've been doing this story for a while, but I didn't have any idea what it really meant. So that 75 years and 80 years and 100 years and 1,000 years packed into a puppet show that you play out with one person can teach you a lot.
Daddy?
You know, that's an interesting question, because we were battling this, or we were discussing this in the recent Heritage Commission conference in Lubeck. And we came to, at least in India, we want to, or we're trying to stop this thing by saying modern or traditional puppeteer. We went into generational puppeteer. And there are many non-generational puppeteers also who are doing so-called what we call traditional performances. Most of these groups, young new groups in Europe, they're not generational, but they're still considered of that tradition. In Portugal or wherever, they do not maybe come from the same ethos or things. So I think we've gone beyond that now, I feel. But always it comes again from the so-called traditional family that you're not from there, and the background and the ethos is not just what you see, but there is so much more behind that, and many people have studied it or have lived it as well. So it's always this balance that we keep discussing. We haven't come to any conclusion on it, really speaking. Thank you.
Sorry, I have to wrap my thoughts a little bit as well. I have one more question, which might be naive, but in Wayang, does the concept of disciplines exist?
You know, I walked into a place, there was someone rich in America who brought over dalangs and gamelan teachers and wonderful Indian dancers or things like that. I looked around and it looked like those guys were doing music, these guys were doing dancing. And when I saw the puppets, I said, oh, that looks like theater. That looks like what I did. I neglected to notice, because we didn't have them in class, that you needed all the gamelan and singers and dancers sometimes with you, and you had to learn how to dance before you could do the figures. So really, Wayang is a package of all the Indonesian arts, and it was just my sheer stupidity and coming from a logocentric, actor kind of background that I didn't realize you really needed all those skills first before you could do it, because it's a group package. There's everything in Wayang. And it's this idea, you can do Wayang with people. It's puppetry with people. That's classical dance drama. But it's because this idea of one who does everything allows you a more comprehensive view of what the universe is, that Wayang is the most important art there. It's like theater, well, it's okay, those people can talk and move around, but it's the opposite of what, traditionally, it's the opposite of what you were encountering. It's for kids, of course, but it's for the world, and the universe is what puppetry is in traditional Southeast Asian thought.
Clément, did you want to say something because you were raising the microphone?
Yeah, I would like to say something, but it's it's about your link with about emotion and resistance. I think it's a very good link, and so emotion, resistance, and theater. It's for me it's very important, because what I learned more than 25 years ago at university at this moment in France, I learned by my teacher, I like them, that emotion is enemy of theater. It was what I, at this moment in France, it's like if emotion is not for theater, because when you are inside emotion, you don't think well, etc., etc. Okay. But I duped a little bit about that. And I learned during my career that it's not true, and that the emotion is completely linked to the memories also. And it's because you have emotion on theater that you can put the things inside your memory. So it's very important for us also to have this kind of emotion, of course. So now when I direct shows, I think it's important to have some part of emotion inside the performance, to help the audience and to work with the memories. Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the inspiration. Yeah, and I think it's our collective third eye, maybe. I want to see if there's any comments or questions in the online chat. Maybe because looking at the time is running by quickly. I think we still have a few minutes, so if there's any more comments or questions within the audience, you're very welcome to share it. Hello again, people there online. Hello, Nancy. Are there any questions? Yes, Nancy, please. Oh, wait, we cannot hear you yet. Try now, please. No, we still cannot hear you, but I think it's on our side and not yours. So give us a second. Is it possible, or listen with these? Ah, yeah. So Nancy, yeah. Try talking, yeah. No, we still don't hear you. Maybe if you could just write it in the chat, it could be, we can see it. Thank you for adjusting. So we will wait while Nancy is typing. And maybe can deepen the thoughts on emotion and the connection to puppetry, and also to therapy and the healing quality of puppetry, which is also based on emotion. I think this is it's really interesting link, and I would not have imagined this coming out of like the topic of interdisciplinary session, because like interdisciplinary could also mean like just like crossing borders of disciplines. Like we have a lot, like in puppetry, we have a lot of influences from dance, from sculpture, you know, from all the arts. But everything kind of goes back to emotion and then the cosmic egg, right? So Nancy, Daddy just proposed that you could call him on WhatsApp and he will translate your message to us in the audience. So if this is an opportunity for you as well. Yeah. Sorry? Okay. I thought it was on our side. Yeah. We will try. I would like to also, just as I did before, while we wait for Nancy to type, give you three the chance to maybe ask questions or give comments on each of your presentations.
Are you always working in such traumatic circumstances? I mean, and really that's a question for you as well. Is most of your work with these groups in therapy, or are you working with, you know, normal students as well? And what does that do to you emotionally? It clearly makes the work very important, but it must be psychologically sometimes very difficult.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm not searching this kind of, not too much. And no, when I was in Kosovo, it was completely safe, etc. So, and in Ukraine too. So I think it's maybe new. It's a new part of my work now. You know, it's begin, of course. Yeah. Because I continue to work in Ukraine. I was there last years. 3 times in different moments, and under bombing also. So that's okay. I can support it. It's not a problem. But I had a big emotion last month. I was in France, but I learned that one of my students, not my student, but she was in the school where I teach, and she died under bombing. So, you know, it's really something. Yes, so, but I also have something to say about care, because when I start a workshop, I ask to the student, where did you see a performance? Where was a performance of puppetry? Did you see it, and where? And one teenager from Ukraine, she said to me, "Oh yes, I saw one. It was marvelous, etc. I saw it in Poland in a refugee camp." You know, and it was the first time that I received this kind of answer inside a camp for refugee, because she was there after she returned to Ukraine. But, you know, inside her eyes, about what she said, it was a good experience. to see this performance. And it was not something terrible that she described. No, it was really something. Oh yeah. So I think that in this situation I find some hope, about what we are doing also, etc. But no, I'm not searching a traumatic approach for myself. It's absolutely not that. And yeah.
Chez nous, on travaille beaucoup avec plusieurs clientèles. C'est sûr que ce qu'on a vu, c'est des personnes qui sont à raison, c'est notre programme fort, où les participants ils travaillent pendant 21 heures par semaine. Alors donc, c'est 3 jours. Parce que vous savez, quand on a des difficultés en santé mentale, c'est que souvent, c'est des gens qui vont avoir développé ça pendant 30, 40 ans. Alors, c'est pas en 3 mois ou en 4 mois que ça s'arrange. Alors, c'est pour ça que le fait de faire des rencontres régulières, les gens développent un côté social avec les autres, ils vont développer une dynamique qui va faire qu'ils vont trouver des ressources intérieures et puis ils vont découvrir la beauté, ils vont découvrir aussi la créativité, ils vont découvrir des outils pour pouvoir améliorer leur sort. Moi, j'ai travaillé avec des enfants qui sont en difficulté, des adultes, des personnes handicapées, des personnes âgées. Alors, donc, c'est une expérience qui m'a fait vivre, en fait, le fait que les besoins sont les mêmes parce qu'on est des êtres humains, puis on a besoin de savoir qui nous sommes et de comprendre les problèmes qu'on vit pour trouver les solutions.
Donc, je travaille avec différents types de clients. Donc là, pendant la présentation, je vous ai présenté.
You have the wrong language.
Sorry,
English
sorry.
now.
sorry. So I work with a lot of different clients. So today I showed you just the part related to the people who have difficulty and everything. So most of the time, this person only work with us, with our center, 20 hours a week. However, most of these persons who work developed the trauma that they have for 30, 40, 50 years for some person. And so it takes time. 3 months is not enough to being able to help them going through what they had during their life. So he also said that the beauty of what he done is that he helped them discover themselves, help them to find creativity, to discover what is creativity. And he also said, I think the most important part is that I think that all humans are the same. We just need to know what we are, who we are, and what we need to be better. Yes, that's basically your resume.
Alors, pour finir, c'est que, en fait, les humains sont tous pareils. On est tous des enfants du cosmos, mais on aborde tous les sujets. On aborde toutes les difficultés. Les participants font travailler sur toutes les étapes de créativité du spectacle. Et tranquillement aussi, on travaille beaucoup la philosophie, l'humour. On travaille avec beaucoup de dimensions humaines, ce qui fait que c'est sûr que le côté spirituel, par exemple, que ce soit le positif ou le négatif, la communication, par exemple, les gens, ils ne se rendent pas toujours compte qu'ils fonctionnent à la négative. Ils vont dire à leur enfant, tu viens jamais me voir, plutôt que de dire j'aime quand tu viens me voir. Alors c'est pour ça que la marionnette, le théâtre, ce sont des outils extraordinaires pour pouvoir aider les gens à regarder, à se regarder, à s'accepter et à travailler sur eux-mêmes.
To add maybe... sorry.
Pas de souci. Donc, il vient de répéter que les humains, comme j'ai dit avant... Oh, it's again. So he told us that, as I said before, human was the same, and that we all come from in a way of the cosmos, and so that during the process they try to work on all the steps together, and by doing that, actually the person who work with them kind of discover a new philosophy. They try to discover humor, and how to communicate with person, because most of these person actually have a kind of like negative way of living. They don't really think positively. Most of the time they will tell their child, why don't you come to see me? Instead of, oh, I like when you come to see me. So by doing these kind of things, they change the personality and the way of people thinking, and it helps those people also find who they are and what they need, and in the end kind of change the person who work with them.
Yeah, just would like to say that I like it's new for me, but I like this concept of spirituality also because maybe it's something that we don't have too much in Europe, in theater, and in puppet theater also. And when I was in Bali 2 years ago, etc., with you, we participate to a workshop. And I learned a little bit about this spirituality in puppetry art. And it's really something that it's maybe connecting with this concept of emotion, resistance, poetry, etc., etc. Maybe it's another concept of spirituality, a higher concept. And for me, it's important that to learn it and to understand more what it is, because it's really opened a new door also in my artistic field, this dimension. So I would like to know how it is connected with puppetry art that you describe, etc. This dimension of spirituality. If where are the link between poetic and spirituality? Yeah, I don't know if it is. It's a question that I just.
We will just take this question into the next break because unfortunately time is up again. I just wanted to see if we have a chat from Nancy. Was there something in the chat? Nancy, did you write something, or shall we try again? Activating your microphone. So, no, we still can't hear you. Sorry. I think you will have to keep your question to another chance. I'm very sorry about it. And we will go into a break until 3. Well, let me check. Where's my times? Until 3:25. So we have like around about 15 minutes break now. No, it's me. Yeah. Yeah.
Can we start at 3:30 in 3 or 5 minutes? Please. Shall we start? 자, 오늘의 마지막 세션, 세 번째 세션을 시작하겠습니다. 사회적 경계를 넘나드는 인형극이라는 제목입니다. 최대한 발표하시는 선생님들께 시간을 충분히 드리고 또 여러분들께 드려야 되니까 저에게는 가능한 줄이겠습니다. 맨 첫 번째 발제자 세 분을 조금 자세히 소개해 드리겠습니다. 아까도 그렇게 하신 것 같으니까. 맨 첫 번째 발제자 선생님은 고윤정 선생님입니다. 인형극 쪽의 얘기를 주로 많이 해왔다면 이번엔 조금 사회와 예술 문화와의 관계에 대한 부분인데요. 사회복지사로 활동한 이후에 부산문화재단에서 문화다양성과 장애예술 관련한 사업을 담당하셨고요. 부산문화재단 비전 2030이라고 하는 것을 집필을 하셨습니다. 최근 5년간은 도시 변화를 위한 문화예술의 역할에 관심을 많이 두시고서 부산 영도 문화도시 센터장직을 훌륭하게 수행해내셨습니다. 이를 통해서 도시 브랜드로서 세계 디자인 어워드 4관왕을 받으셨고 또 문화 다양성 및 문화 돌봄 부분에서 장관상 등을 수상한 바 있습니다. 우리가 문화도시라는 국가가 지정하는 사업이 있는데 그 사업의 첫 해에 문화도시에 선정돼서 5년간을 쭉 진행해 오신 주역이십니다. 고윤정 선생님 소개해드리겠습니다. 인사만 하시면 되겠습니다.
반갑습니다. 네.
아까 그렇게 하신 것 같아요. 차례대로 다 하신 다음에 말씀할 순서를 넘기도록 하겠습니다. 두 번째, 오늘 전부 아이시아입니다. 트랜스탄 선생님은 싱가포르를 기반으로 하는 프로듀서이자 예술가, 사회운동가이십니다. 15년 이상 국제예술 현장에서 활동을 해오셨는데요. 인형극 워크숍을 하시기도 하고 연극 및 페스티벌에서 제작, 시각을 하시고 시각예술 등 다양한 분야에서 기여를 하셨습니다. 트랜스는 병원이나 재난, 분쟁 생존자, 동남아의 소외된 지역 공동체와 협력을 한 커뮤니티 예술가이시기도 합니다. 예술가로서 트랜스는 개인적인 목표는 예술의 모든 수단을 동원해서 창의적이고 인간적인 연결과 이해를 증진하는 데 있다고 생각을 하고 있습니다. 트랜스는 전 세계 연극인들의 연합체인 유니마 싱가포르 지부의 설립자이시고 위에서 언급한 인도주의적 목적을 지향하는 여러 위원회 활동을 하고 있습니다. 저희가 이 심포지움을 위해서 연구자들을 공모 사업을 했을 때 트랜스가 주도했던 사업이 무려 6분의 연구자가 그 사업을 가지고 발표를 하겠다고 지원을 해주셨어요. 그래서 다 모실 수가 없어서 대표 활동가로서 활동하신 테렌스 탄을 모셨습니다. 테렌스 탄 실 소개하겠습니다. 박수 치셔도 됩니다. 아주 젊은 단체인데요. 롤링 퍼펫 얼터너티브 티어터라고 하는 단체인데 마카오 최초의 중국계 전문 인형극 단체이고 대한극 단체로서 공연예술이나 예술교육, 출판 또 다양한 매체를 통해서 인형극과 대한극의 예술적 가치를 확산시키는 데 힘쓰고 있습니다. 다양한 분야의 예술가들과 기관과의 협업을 통해서 창작의 새로운 가능성을 많이 모색하고 있고 마카오와 인근 지역의 인형극 예술 플랫폼으로서 기능을 하면서 전 세계의 인형극 애호가들이 연결될 수 있는 장을 제공하고 있습니다. 퍼펫하고 오브제를 창작 매체로 해서 새로운 공연 제작 방식을 탐구하고 계시고요. 일상적 사물의 의미 또 그것의 은유로서 무대의 재구성 일상에 자주 마주치는 사물과 상황들을 재해석하는 작업을 통해서 우리 사회와 정체성에 대한 은유적 성찰을 확장해 나가는 일을 하고 있습니다. 이 두 분은 우리 춘천연극제에도 계속 오시면서 아시아 지역에서 제가 몇 년간 봤을 때 가장 왕성하게 에너지 넘치게 만남과 서로 협업을 계속하시는 그런 모습을 봐왔습니다. 두 분 소개해드리겠습니다. 탱탱람 씨와 케빈 초. 자, 아침부터 긴 시간 조금 고단하시겠지만 또 훌륭한 말씀들을 해주실 테니까 먼저 살고 싶게 만드는 예술의 힘에 대하여 라는 제목을 제가 받았는데 고윤정 선생님 말씀을 듣겠습니다.
네, 반갑습니다. 굉장히 떨리고 있습니다. 왜냐하면 저는 인형극과 큰 관련이 없는 사람이기 때문입니다. 그래서 제가 가지고 있는 옷 중에서 가장 인형극스러운 옷을 오늘 입고 왔습니다. 네. 저는 감사합니다. 네. 저는 오늘 이 자리에 오신 분들이 다들 잘 알고 계시는 주제와 관련해서 제가 추진했던 사례를 설명하고자 왔습니다. 사람을 살리는 예술의 힘에 관련한 이야기입니다. 저는 예술가도 아니고요. 저는 도시의 문화 정책을 만드는 사람입니다. 도시 안에서 예술이 어떤 활동을 할 수 있을지 항상 관심을 가지고 있습니다. 저는 지난 5년간 부산 영도구라는 지역에서 문화도시 프로젝트를 총괄했습니다. 이 프로젝트는 문화체육관광부라는 한국의 정부가 주관하는 정책 사업이고 문화예술로 도시를 발전시키라고 하는 목표를 가지고 있습니다. 도시를 발전시킨다라고 했을 경우에 어떤 상들이 있을까요? 2020년도에는 한국에서는 문화재생이라는 단어가 굉장히 크게 유행을 했습니다. 그래서 쇠퇴한 지역을 빌바오처럼 벽화나 이런 활동을 통해서 칠레의 발파라이소처럼 굉장히 명소가 되는 것이 굉장히 중요하다고 봤습니다. 사실 저도 그렇게 생각을 하고 5년 전 영도라는 곳에서 활동을 시작하게 되었죠. 영도는 인구가 10만 정도 되는 지역입니다. 그런데 지역 주민들과 만나면서 생각을 좀 바뀌게 됐습니다. 10대부터 80대까지 장애가 있든 없든 공무원, 교사, 의사, 다양한 직군의 사람 2,376명을 미친 듯이 만났습니다. 다시는 그런 짓을 못할 것 같아요. 라운드 테이블만 35차를 하면서 문화도시가 되기 위해서는 어떤 활동을 해야 될까요? 라고 하는 질문에 영도에 살고 있는 주민들은 네버 페스티벌이라고 말씀하시는 거예요. 네버 퍼블릭 뮤럴 이렇게 이야기를 하시면서 절대 축제하지 마라, 벽화하지 마라고 말씀을 하셨던 것 같습니다. 왜냐하면 영도구에서는 흰여울 마을이라고 하는 유명한 벽화 마을이 있었는데 관광객들이 너무 많이 오면서 살고 있는 주민들이 불편함을 계속 호소하고 있는 상태였습니다. 그래서 도시를 한번 다시 살펴봤죠. 그럼 어떻게 하면 좋을까라는 이야기를 드렸더니 부산말로, 아마 여기 해외에서 오셔서 부산말을 잘 모르실 것 같은데, 문화가 사는데 도움이 되게 해달라, 내 사는 데에 기여하게 해달라는 이야기를 많이 말씀해 주셨던 것 같아요. 사는데 문화가 어떤 기여를 하게 될까요? 영도라는 지역을 많이 살펴봤더니 부산이라는 대도시 중에서 16개 기초자치단체가 있습니다. 가장 노인 인구가 많습니다. 전체 인구의 30%가 65세 이상이었고요. 고독사 발생률이 가장 높은 지역이기도 했습니다. 그래서 멋진 경관, 섬이기 때문에 멋진 매력적인 경관도 가지고 있지만 고령화 비율과 고독사 비율이 높은 부분들이 있기 때문에 그렇다면 어떻게 하면 덜 외로운 도시가 될까, 이걸 문화예술이 역할을 좀 할 수 있지 않을까라는 생각을 하게 되었습니다. 복지기관 관계자들을 만나게 됐죠. 커뮤니티 케어라는 것을 하는데 어려움이 없나요? 라고 말씀을 여쭤봤더니 외로움과 고독감이 높은 사람들은 문을 열어주지 않아요. 복지 서비스가 진행되고 난 다음에 이들이 지역의 주민들이나 지역사회랑 연결되지 않아요 라는 이야기를 하셨습니다. 그런데 우리는 사실 다들 잘 알고 계시지 않습니까? 네. 예술은 그 무엇보다 사람의 마음을 열게 하고 또 이웃을 연결하게 하고 자신을 사랑하게 만드는 능력이 있다는 것을 우리는 알고 있습니다. 그래서 영도에서는 총 4가지 프로젝트를 진행을 하게 되었습니다. 똑똑똑 예술가, 똑똑똑 예술 파티, 예술마을 PD, 안녕마음 살롱이라는 프로젝트입니다. 이런 프로젝트를 진행을 할 때는 복지, 정신보건기관, 그 지역의 통반장님들, 다양한 지역 리더들과 협력해서 추진하게 되었습니다. 복지와 정신보건기관은 돈을 많이 가지고 있거든요. 예술 쪽은 돈이 없지만 이들은 많은 돈을 갖고 있기 때문에 이들과 협력하는 것도 굉장히 중요했습니다. 이들과 함께 같은 미션을 만들었어요. 누구도 외롭지 않는 영도구를 예술로 만들겠습니다. 예술로 누구도 외롭지 않는 영도구를 만들겠습니다라고 하는 미션을 함께 공유하게 되었습니다. 먼저 첫 번째로 똑똑똑 예술가라고 하는 프로젝트를 소개해드리도록 하겠습니다. 매년 고립감과 우울감이 높은 주민들을 소득, 나이, 성별과 관련 없이 70명 정도를 추천을 받습니다. 이웃들에게도 추천을 받고 기관에서도 추천을 받습니다. 그리고 굉장히 중요한 것은 이분들이 살고 있는 집에서 15분 이내에 살고 있는 동네의 이웃 예술가들과 연결하는 것입니다. 마을에 살고 있는 예술가들과 연결하는 것은 굉장히 중요한 포인트입니다. 기관이 아니라 집, 때로는 이들이 좋아하는 장소에 예술가들이 직접 찾아갑니다. 그리고 이들과 함께 이야기를 나누죠. 사회복지에서는 이런 이야기를 나눕니다. 우리가 당신이 얼마나 가난한지, 얼마나 힘든지. 그러나 예술가들은 집으로 찾아갔을 때 당신의 첫사랑, 당신의 가장 매력적인 이야기, 이런 이야기를 나누게 됩니다. 그러면서 친구가 되어가죠. 함께 참여했던 예술가들은 동네에서 컨퍼런스를 엽니다. 이런 주민들을 어떻게 도울 수 있을까라는 이야기들을 나눕니다. 그리고 집 안에만 있는 고립감이 높고 우울감이 높은 집 안에서만 활동하는 사람들을 집 밖 활동으로 연결합니다. 작가의 공방에 초대하기도 하고 함께 여행을 가기도 하고 이런 활동을 하다 보면 많은 분들이 이렇게 말씀해 주세요. 작가 선생, 좋은 친구 해줘서 너무 고마워요. 당신은 우리 집에 와도 됩니다. 네. 당신은 나에게 선물 같습니다라는 이야기를 해주십니다. 행동에도 변화가 옵니다. 끝나고 나면 작가 선생의 공방에 한번 가보고 싶다. 내가 만든 음식이 있는데 당신을 초대하고 싶다. 오늘 하루 그림을 그리고 싶어서 스케치북을 사러 나갔다라고 하면서 집 밖으로 나오는 활동으로 이어지십니다. 그리고는 지역에서는 예술가들과의 네트워크가 생깁니다. 그리고 지자체에서는 문화돌봄이라고 하는 정책을 수립하게 되었습니다. 두 번째는 똑똑똑 예술 파티라고 부르는데요. 이런 프로젝트를 진행을 하게 되었습니다. 서로 환대하는 문화, 서로 응원하는 문화가 굉장히 중요하다고 생각을 합니다. 한국에서는 장애인들이 지역에서 살기 굉장히 힘듭니다. 그래서 시설 밖에 나왔든지 자립을 선언한 장애인들은 원치 않는 고립 상태에 처하게 됩니다. 그래서 이들과 동네의 이웃들이 서로 인사하고 교류할 수 있도록 예술 파티를 여는 프로젝트를 진행하게 되었습니다. 기획자들, 예술가들이 함께 탈시설 자립장애인을 만나고 이들과 함께 파티할 공간을 찾습니다. 장애인분들이 말씀하셨는데 편안히 카페에 가고 싶다라는 희망을 이야기를 해주셨어요. 카페에 가는데 사람들이 쳐다보고 불편하게 여기니까 편안하게 동네 카페를 방문하고 싶다 해서 저희는 이 장애인분들과 예술가들과 함께 가고 싶은 장소를 찾습니다. 그리고는 초대장을 발송하죠. 슈퍼마켓, 복덕방, 미용실 이런 곳에 저의 자립을 축하하는 파티에 여러분들을 초대합니다. 이런 초대장을 보냅니다. 그리고 함께 카페에서, 극장에서, 서점에서, 때로는 정원에서 파티가 열립니다. 함께 춤을 추고 함께 노래를 부르고 함께 몸짓을 나누죠. 그러면 같이 함께했던 이웃 주민들은 당신의 자립을 축하한다라고 하는 응원의 메시지를 보냅니다. 두 번째 사진은 철균 씨, 자립을 축하해요 라고 하는 메시지를 지역 주민들이 보내고 있습니다. 이렇게 하면서 사람들은 서로의 강점을 파악하고 끝나고 나서 서로 인사할 수 있는 사이로 바뀌게 됩니다. 카페를 편안하게 방문하게 되었다라고 하는 소감을 나누시기도 하셨고 인사할 수 있는 이웃들이 많아지셨다는 이야기도 해주셨습니다. 좀 다른 이야기들이죠. 인형극과 다른 이야기였는데 어떻게 괜찮으실지 모르겠습니다. 세 번째는 아트 커넥터를 많이 만들어내는 역할들입니다. 사람과 사람을 이어줄 수 있는 그런 활동을 하는 분들이시죠. 지역의 문화 동아리들을 지원하고 연결합니다. 함께 원탁회의를 열기도 하고 각 동에 있는 예술 활동, 예술 동아리들을 찾고 이들과 반상회를 엽니다. 어떻게 하면 이 동아리에 참여하지 않는 이웃들을 연결시킬 거냐라고 하는 고민들을 나누게 되죠. 이런 PD 활동에 지역 예술가들이 많이 참여하고 계십니다. 그리고는 함께 페스티벌을 열었습니다. 임대아파트 단지라고 저소득층이 많은 아파트에도 문을 두드리고 복지기관이나 시설에도 문을 두드리면서 그날은 장애, 소득, 나이랑 상관없이 함께 어울릴 수 있는 마을 파티를 엽니다. 이 마을 파티를 계획하고 홍보하고 만들어가는 사람들이 바로 예술마을 PD들입니다. 이런 분들 덕분에 우울감과 고립되어 있는 주민들은 마음이 편하게 지역사회와 연결될 수 있었습니다. 다들 커뮤니티 리더로 성장을 하셨고 이런 분들이 지역에서는 마을교육 공동체 활동을 하면서 활동을 이어나가시고 협동조합도 많이 만들어지게 되었습니다. 마지막으로는 안녕 마음 살롱이라는 프로젝트들을 하게 되었습니다. 도시에서 살다 보면 공간이 굉장히 중요합니다. 이동을 하면서 공간을 통해서 사람을 만나게 되죠. 그래서 위로와 공감을 주는 예술 활동을 제공하는 문화 공간들을 많이 만들어질 수 있도록 노력했습니다. 영도라는 곳은 이렇게 섬입니다. 섬인데 저희가 한 해에 170개 정도 공간을 예술 활동을 하게 되었습니다. 하다 보니까 40공간 이상 분들이 언제든 사람들을 만나고 연결할 수 있는 문화 활동을 하게 될 경우에 공간을 무상으로 쓰라고 하는 제안들을 해주셨고요. 이런 분들과 함께 이렇게 북살롱을 하거나 신앙송회를 하든지 다양한 활동들을 이어나가게 되었습니다. 이런 공간은 고립감을 가진 청년들에게 굉장히 중요했습니다. 청년들은 기관에 방문하려 하지 않거든요. 복지관이나 병원 같은 경우들을 가기보다는 취향으로 예술로 만나는 것을 굉장히 선호하는 부분이 컸습니다. 이런 공간에서 우울감을 느끼는 청년들과 함께 예술 활동을 하면서 자기 돌봄의 기능들을 높이게 되기도 하고 서로를 연결해 줄 수 있는 활동들을 하게 되었습니다. 이런 활동들이 도시에 어떤 변화를 가지게 되었을까요? 좀 독특한 이야기를 드리려고 하는데 저희는 5년만 하는 국가 사업이었습니다. 그래서 끝나고 나면 없어지는 조직이었죠. 이렇게 다양한 활동을 하다 보니 지역 주민들이 지자체 앞에서 영도 문화도시를 계속 유지시켜 달라고 하는 집회를 하시게 되셨습니다. 인기 있는 조직이죠. 곳곳에 현수막을 거셨고요. 오래오래 이 지역에다 문화도시 영도라면 오래오래 살고 싶다. 영도 문화도시센터를 계속 유지시켜달라 이런 이야기를 해주셨고 신문에 기고도 하시고 그러셨습니다. 네, 많은 이런 활동들을 하시면서 저도 굉장히 감동을 많이 받았는데 그중에서 가장 저에게 큰 감동을 주었던 문구가 있어서 소개시켜 드리려고 합니다. 80대의 어르신이 이렇게 말씀하셨어요. 영도 문화도시 덕분에 죽고 싶은 생각이 싹 달아났는데 없어지지 말아달라, 이렇게 이야기를 해주셨던 것 같습니다. 저는 재능이 없어서 예술은 할 수는 없고요. 그러나 예술가를 굉장히 응원하고 좋아하는 사람입니다. 왜냐하면 예술이 취약성을 증명하지 않아도 되고 마음을 열고 사람을 연결시키는데 너무나도 대단한 능력을 갖고 있기 때문이죠. 그래서 오늘 함께 하신 분들과 같이 있는 자리가 되어서 너무 영광스럽습니다. 감사합니다.
감사합니다. 시간이 좀 오버됐지만 인형극인이 아니기 때문에 용서해드렸습니다. 잠깐 코멘트 드리면요. 제가 지금 조금 울컥하는데 대한민국의 문화체육관광부가 문화도시를 만드는 사업을 시작할 때 제가 초대위원장을 3년을 했습니다. 그때 첫 번 뽑은 도시인데 무조건 광역시에 있는 지자체는 안 된다라고 해서 제가 모든 곳에서 욕을 먹었습니다. 근데 영도군은 부산에 있거든요. 뽑았어요. 왜 저긴 뽑고 다른 데는 안 되냐라고 했을 때 주신 계획 같은 이 계획들이 정말 광역시 안에서 굉장히 소외되고 어려운 그런 부분들을 문화로 어떻게 살게 할 것인가 하는 것에 설득력이 너무 강했기 때문에 한 적이 있었습니다. 그래서 오늘 사실은 저는 내용을 알고 있었지만 더 많은 분들이 좀 들었으면 좋겠다 하는 생각이 들어서 여기 하신 활동들의 그 내용이 인형극으로 바뀌기만 하면 우리의 일이 됩니다. 그런 생각이 들었습니다. 자, 안 낀다고 해놓고 제가 끼어들었습니다. 다음 발제자 선생님 모시겠습니다. 너무나도 활동이 열정적이고 우리에게 교훈을 많이 줘서 인형극을 통해서 국가를 넘어서 무형문화와 어떻게 협상할 것인가, Reimaginations.라는 제목으로 테렌스 탄 선생님의 말씀을 듣겠습니다. 박수로 맞이해 주십시오.
Thank you. And thank you, Yunjong, for the presentation earlier. I think it's very touching, and it's why we do the arts as well. Hello, fellows and friends in puppetry and everyone else. My topic is based on the project called the ASEAN Puppet Exchange Project, abbreviated as APEX. I oversaw and coordinated APEX between 2012 and 2017 as one of many cross-national puppetry initiatives that have been happening in the southeast corner of Asia in the past 2 decades. In those 6 years, I gathered artists of Southeast Asia, over 20 at a time, and once with over 100 artists in the region's cities, including Singapore, Yangon, Jakarta, and Hanoi, and so on, with arts exchange workshops and joint showcases. Now, guests from other artists were also invited to learn about the Southeast Asian Intergovernment Association, ASEAN, and Southeast Asia's many puppet arts. Naturally, there were other objectives in place so that these events could happen, and I will share them today. Okay. My personal experience and vision of the ASEAN Puppet Exchange was part investigative, part passion. After visiting an ASEAN Puppet Festival in 2011, I was called upon by a senior puppeteer to organize the next one. I had many questions about this intergovernment entity, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, which my country is a part of, and our relations and understanding about it. As an artist and a producer, I believed I needed more knowledge and grounding in the people and cultures of both maritime and mainland regions before I could build up this puppet festival. This was also where I met my lovely partner and now wife, who helped with the management and facilitation. Now, it was in this exploratory journey that APEX was born. I was not happy with the usual roundup of different acts and different costumes. Then you have your final showcase after you do one creative and one dress and one technical rehearsal. As Dr. Jennifer Goodlander of Indiana University observed, Apex challenged relationships between the borders of tradition and creativity, borders between nations, and articulated different relationships between puppetry and identities that were familiar, strange, certain, and uncertain. Idealistically, artists would someday share an identity in some complex, unique, and novel puppeteering method for audiences to witness. My first steps were to visit schools, studios, homes, and theaters in Southeast Asia, as well as participate in meetings and organize events to see what was permissible and achievable. Immersing myself in the foods, culture, beliefs, and environments of the artists, as well as negotiate with the political associations involved, helped move the Apex project several steps closer to this vision. Okay, here we have Southeast Asia. J.R.E. Waddell suggested in 1972 that words like Southeast Asia, like unicorn, they enable us to discuss topics which we would otherwise not even be able to hold a conversation. It's fiction. But this is a view contested by Donald K. Emerson in 1994, who believed that there was an overlapping empirical evidence of Southeast Asia existing as a distinct region. It's just a sum of separate fictions. When you map the languages of Southeast Asia, one can see several natural cultural borders, such as here between Myanmar and Thailand, where all the mountains and all the waterways were. But then there were a lot of complex, different ethnic indigenous groups that are now all overlapped and recalibrated because of excuse me, yeah, in Borneo and New Guinea, they were all recalibrated. And because of maritime trade routes, there are also strong Indian and Chinese diasporas like myself, like my South Chinese Teochew Nang, Teochew family, whose presence is synonymous with the development and independence of several modern nations in this region now. There we go. ASEAN. Like Emerson, I believe it is possible to sculpt our sense of the world, especially with modern technologies. And with Apex, I was able to see something distinct about Southeast Asia as a region. The political association of ASEAN may, of course, have been the catalyst to open borders and understanding amongst distinct communities and new nations in this part of the world. It was founded in 1967. Leaders of the newly formed nations attempted to establish regional peace and co-development in the second half of the Cold War in Asia. And now it comprises 10 of 11 independent nations of the region who coordinate their moves to retain sovereignty amidst global tensions. And that's what we are working with here. Now, cultural policies and artists could therefore find some areas of cooperation, which increased with budget flights and social media. Puppeteers and their small stages and large stories could represent national cultures at budget price and present a synthesized image of cohesion and diversity. And this suited our cultural and foreign affairs ministries, even corporate and private entities. The ASEAN Puppetry Association is probably the first of such entities realized in 2006 in Jakarta to create such opportunities for its members. And this was followed recently by organizations in Bangkok, Chiang Mai, Manila, Kuala Lumpur, among others, who perhaps found partnerships with governments, monarchies, and corporates to create similar events in the past decade. The path I wished to take in 2012 was, however, different. My goal was to use the arts for education and development. By traveling to work and visit in the environments of rural and urban communities, I learned the different purposes and meanings of puppet arts for the next generations. In the city of Phnom Penh, recovering from a genocide, over here, yeah, the spiritual property of a puppet remained very strong, even amongst the young, while in the disaster-prone city of Tacloban, the versatility of puppets became a useful tool of education and relief over there. The youth in rural Vientiane in Laos needed a means of orally transmitted education because of the lack of books, while young Singaporeans eagerly sought something different from digital entertainment. And all these experiences assisted with forming a trust and a vision to gather so many puppeteers for the first exchange in Singapore. My second goal was to enrich the artists themselves so they may appreciate one another's arts and histories and gain a general knowledge of ASEAN and the region. I sought collaboration not only on stage, but for partnerships beyond. And this was not always easy because of language barriers, so my choice of participants was sometimes limited. While doing so, I've seen interesting methods of coaching and introductions to puppetry as artists found new ways to teach and engage one another with minimal verbal options. I got to hear a wide diversity of interpretations of the Cold War, which brings to mind Jean-Francois Lyotard's The Postmodern Condition and the Human Desire for Micro-Narratives. We learned about each other's plights, beliefs, and innovations as well as traditions. And in some countries, however, the traditions of puppetry have been neglected while new practices were established. Therefore, early exchanges were also focused on helping artists start, develop, or expand on puppetry. For example, puppeteers from Thailand traveled to Laos to learn about puppets in community development, while artists from Malaysia, whose wayang kulit siam was disallowed, and they found a practice by teaching upcycling and recycling in Vietnam. Now, eventually, I would have a format, and that was to gather participants in a lab setting. I provided a week and a half of workshops and devising before a final presentation to an audience. I will oversee collaborations in the adjunct fields of participating technicians, dancers, and musicians. And we even tried a music exchange afterwards, but that was very, very difficult. Now, what was important in the lab was that I provided a space of free play amongst participants because there were numerous possibilities of exchange that I would not be able to predict because of all the different practices and gaps in the knowledge between all of us. Now in spite of having to, all this was in spite of having to deliver a performance at the end of the week, and there were cultural sensitivities that was not easily expressed. Now, these may even apply to the artist's personal body and space, of the puppets, and even of the story. But I could trust that it was in artists' nature to find innovative ways to always present their arts in the best possible way. Now, because the puppet is vague and the lack of a common language, it also allowed multiple interpretations of a single presentation, and this allowed each participant to draw their own conclusion, and it freed the performance from a prescriptive grand narrative. And this is where I borrowed Dr. Goodlander's application of Unborder, which builds on the work of Ai Hua Ong, which is a place where puppets and puppeteers might come together to challenge power dynamics between nations and genres when they come together in performance. The Unborder is messy, flexible, and productive, and it creates an artistic space to challenge the border of tradition and modernity, yet at the same time complements the unique performance potentials of puppets. Now, as she observed, differences in language and styles of working and navigating the tensions of preservation and innovation had to be done in different contexts and cultural narratives. More often than not, we would not have the answers, which undermined my position as the project coordinator. Therefore, I'm very grateful for the artist's trust in me to help see through the week of the entire experimentation. And part of my role became to manage the conflicts and arguments that rose above creative differences. By holding steadfast onto our commitment to our audience, we completed every presentation promised. Probably like her, engaging government officials became very important. Therefore, our process and final presentations were not always met with enthusiasm. It was thanks to then Director Elaine Tan of the ASEAN Foundation, the civil society organization with ASEAN, that APEX was given the breadth that it needed to fulfill our process and ground up beliefs. Now, each exchange had to present ASEAN in a public setting, yet at the same time was allowed to challenge borders between nations. While it was not always possible to completely dismantle the national identities our participants represented, harmony and unity among our participants were beginning to show. Dr. Amihan Bonifacio Ramolete of the University of Philippines de Liman also highlights that puppetry had helped bridge the language barrier. At present, the APEX community continues to engage one another online or at ongoing regional puppet events. There is no distinction between our personal and artistic lives as we celebrate birthdays, share news about births and deaths, and highlight humanitarian causes we feel strongly for. Recently, one family troupe of Myanmar was able to find performing, teaching, and learning opportunities in Thailand and Cambodia to avoid the military drafts to fight in the civil war. And there was a previous time we put money together to help a long-standing medical treatment for one Cambodian arts manager's daughter, and she's well now. The focus on family may also be due to puppetry often being an intergenerational family occupation. So meeting one another has become more frequent since the end of the pandemic, and there have been requests to continue APEX. We are therefore on the search for another week-long lab, needing the right partner and sufficient financial support for our enterprise. Now, one of the qualities that made it possible for the many Southeast Asian artists to overcome language and cultural borders, of course, is the common epic, the Ramayana, of which, say for example, the episode of Shinda can also be known as Sita, Nang Sita, Sita Dewi, Siti Dewi, had surfaced over more than several times during APEX. Now, writing and devising, they are not concepts always understood by traditional artists. Therefore, the episodic nature of this Indian, Southeast Asian epic, the diversity of characters, the popularity, the dramatic plot was instrumental in our first years of exchanges. It's kind of like K-drama, right? Nevertheless, there are communities and puppeteers in Southeast Asia who do not resonate with this epic, with the Ramayana, and it was necessary for our participants to adapt and accept the changes they have to make for the greater cause. By the last session of 2016, we performed a water puppet stage in Hanoi, which the theater, which the theater brilliantly converted to suit both the land and water performances. They called it the soup theater. As always, the scarcity became the mother of invention, and the new space and the responsibility of a performance meant that artists began sharing and dividing their roles as well. Now, here I'd like to highlight another attribute of puppetry for crossing borders and creating community. Now, while mask and music and dance are also important and potential intercultural projects for Southeast Asia, puppetry helps bridge interpersonal boundaries with the avatar, a representation of life that can be shared, transferred, and isolated to pivot everybody's focus away from the puppeteer. The mask cannot perform without the performer's body. The instruments, the costumes, they don't have identities of their own to depersonalize the artist. Moreover, the puppet can be a simple enough representation if the artists choose for participants of different levels and skills, of capacities to share on a single stage in a single moment. Yet it is so vulnerable, it cannot be left alone. So every participant becomes a co-performer, and therefore they become a part of a community. With APEX, we help exemplify methods of overcoming borders and fostering regional collaboration. We face criticism as outcomes differed from the experience of a festival, where artists kept to what they knew as compared to the space of the armed border. Nevertheless, APEX was forgivingly experimental, so long as within the domain of puppetry, as compared to the rigor I experienced when facilitating an exchange between musicians. Representatives from Japan, Korea, India, and US were invited to attend to explore ways of collaborating with APEX to see if there was a uniqueness to the Southeast Asian collaboration we could not see for ourselves. Commonalities in native languages and dialogues of performance and story were found between the many artists, highlighting the ethnographic ties that existed before our modern nations were cartographically mapped. Sharing accommodation and transportation were all part of the process of the discovery, as we know, away from the time at stage and rehearsals. And by reducing interpersonal borders, we allowed more intercultural discoveries within the short time. Now, for this reason, I wish to emphasize this, that it remains crucial for physical meetups and workshops for interpersonal understanding and cross-national and intercultural development. And because it remains important to be frugal with our carbon footprint, so it should ensure that long-lasting gains with in-person artistic exchanges. The balance between retaining tradition and making adaptations to survive is often difficult for folk artists. Being open to play between traditions for an alternative audience was the space that APEX provided. I believe this is why intercultural, cosmopolitan cities are well suited for developing and hosting such programs. Now, since our exchanges, we've seen inspiring developments such as the scaled-up wayang kulit puppets, traditionally performed behind the screen, but now presented in front, large and directly before audiences. One member from Singapore has brought the Javanese horse dance Kuda Kepang to more audiences by reducing the spiritual and ritualistic components and focusing on its value as a performance. We have seen Apex participants become more vocal and experimental, or they employ online marketing and outreach programs to sustain their traditions. Now, and these developments can only happen with process and development-focused platforms. Now, to conclude, I would like to suggest that we seek more unborder conditions for a peaceful world, starting with the intercultural exploratory arts. The first challenge is that large enough sponsorships, especially state-based ones, they tend to hold up national borders, and sometimes to build a greater regional border or allied ones. As Mani Badam says of even the most well-meaning cultural state bodies, frames such as social inclusion, community well-being, or cultural diversity are often fleeting rhetoric in policy cycles. How can development be measured when an understanding of progress is not shared? How can cultures be compared when they may have different values and priorities? It is for this reason I believe a large and long-standing enough NGO such as UNIMA could hold such a space, where there are sufficient puppet advocates and artists looking beyond governmental borders, so all cultures may be seen as equal and given equal opportunity to develop autonomously. I would also like to know of any other region-based exchange programs with a similar experience or intention, as many questions remained. Is there a cadence, an aesthetic, or a philosophy unique to tropical Southeast Asians? Or was the ASEAN identity instrumental in our collaboration? Can APEX expand to include puppeteers of East and South Asia or the rest of New Guinea? And is the process of APEX transferable, or is our Southeast Asianness a construct? I ask these questions on behalf of all our fellow puppeteers, organizers, and UNIMA centers pursuing the same Southeast Asian dream. For it's not only the borders imposed upon us that we have to dismantle, it's also the ones that we hold up amongst ourselves. And that's it. I thank you, the host of our symposium, partners, thank you very much. To all our supporters and all our sponsors. Thank you.
감사합니다, 테렌스 씨. 늘 보면서 굉장히 존경스러운 마음으로 그 에너지와 활동력을 지켜보고 또 응원하고 있었습니다. 이번 계기로 또 지금 얘기하셨던 다른 지역으로라는 거는 저는 늘 가능하다고 생각합니다. 함께 만났을 때 찾아낼 수 있기 때문에 찾아서 또 더욱더 많은 지역과 같이 활동을 하셨으면 좋겠습니다. 감사합니다. 마지막 발제로 넘어가겠습니다. 제가 우리 총회를 준비하면서 또 세계 인형극제를 준비하면서 한 2년 반 동안 꽤 많은 나라를 다니면서 좋은 작품들을 보고 사람들을 만날 일을 해봤는데 거기서 제일 자주 만나는 분이 두 분이었습니다. 오늘 마침 그 주제로 세계 인형극과 대한 페스티벌에 대한 연구와 지역 공동체와의 관계에 대한 주제 발표해 주겠습니다. 궁금했었어요. 이렇게 많이 보러 다니시면서 어떻게 그게 반영이 될까라는 생각을 했었는데 오늘 어쩌면 제가 궁금했던 점을 들어볼 수 있을 것 같습니다. 탱탱과 케빈 두 분 모시겠습니다.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the organizer and also for your participation in this symposium. And my name is Kevin and 1010. We are from Macau, Volume Puppet Alternative Theatre. And I bet not many of you know where is Macau. And Macau is a colony of Portugal for like more than 400 years. So from long time ago, we have been the connect hub of Western and Eastern culture. So this is also a background of this research project that we want to connect different culture and also connect the different puppet festival. Oh no, this one. Yes, okay. I'm going to talk about in this presentation about first is the research objective, And then I will give you some overviews of the 9 major puppet festival that we went in the last 10 months, and also some observation or conclusion from us. And today is kind of a very short version, which is within like 20 minutes. We try to make it. And then at the end of June, we will have a longer report that we have to like publish. So if you want more information or you want more update from it, you can like at the end I will have our email. Just write to us, okay? And yes, this one.
Yes. So just to give you a hint about our objectives for this project. So the first one is to promote the global collaborations. So the objective of this research is to foster exchange and collaboration between puppet festivals around the world. By understanding the unique features and community engagement methods of each festivals, we can create opportunities for intellectual cooperation. And then is to support growth and sustainability. So by analyzing the community impact of various festivals, the research will identify effective strategies for engaging local and global audiences. This will support the growth and sustainability of puppet festivals worldwide.
And then I will go through the festivals in the order of our visit. So first of all is like Pilsen, Skupua Pilsen, which is from Czech Republic. And the festival includes a competitive element, and then it features a variety of performances, workshop, exhibitions, and over 60 performances in 5 days and from 11 countries. This is the information last edition, which is 2024, and it is a major performance for puppet professionals. And Pilsen is a very well-known international puppet festival held in Czech Republic and organized by a local theater called Alpha Dialog, Alpha Theater, focused on like professional puppetry from Czech and Slovak, and also some international artists. And they have a strong ties with the local community, with a lot of like, residents attending and participate in the shows and other events. And you will see that at your left, this is some very Czech and Slovak performance in their style, and also some international artists from Korea, actually, this one. And also some performance in some open space with a huge park with a lot of people watching hand puppets, okay? And also, we met a family that attend almost every show like us at the same time. So they are like crazy. And the next is a festival in Baden, Switzerland, which is already 30 years old. And they focus on contemporary puppet theater. And is organized by a private association which gets sponsor support from the local and the Canton government. And the festival happens every 2 years, like around a week, and over like 90 performances, in different venues, like squares, cellars, schools, and also some Kavana, church, even like some basement. And the festival involved a lot of volunteers from all over the country. So they offer free entrance to shows, and the people will come to be volunteering, like to be the usher or like guardians. And they travel from Zurich and then by train and then go back home at the same day. So it's like, but they have a lot, like, and they are very proud of being part of this festival. And we met some of them, and they will like happily enjoy the festival and also like introduce every part of the city to us.
It's like ambassador.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. And they have performance happen in all the like tunnels and on the squares and in some Kavana. And over there is Evelyn is the producer of the festivals. And then is
Hudim.
Hudim.
I hope I can pronounce it right. So Luchka Ska Hrudem. So this festival, the background is a Czech festival focusing on both amateur and professional puppetry, which has a history of 76 years. And it aims to unite amateur puppeteers and provide them with educational opportunities. So the key features, the festival features workshops. Actually, the workshops are in the morning, and then competitions of the amateur group in the afternoon, and then professional performances at night. So every family came to Hurdim, and then they can enjoy everything. They can learn things, they can perform, and then they can look at they can see some professional performances also. So it includes a selection process from regional showcases. So in regional competition, they win the contest, and then they would be selected, and then they would go to Hrudim to have a huge competition again, and then the winner got something very prestigious.
They will be recommended to another like amateur performing arts competition, like dance, amateur puppetry, amateur drama, maybe.
Yeah. So the festival spans 7 days with 17 workshops and 140 performances, making it a comprehensive event. And the community impact. The festival connects with regional communities through competitions, workshops, and showcases, creating a network of puppet lovers that brings them from different areas to Hrudim. And you can see some photos here, and it's like children are running naked in the stream behind the theater, and you can see doctors or lawyers who become firemen who become puppeteers and making new shows for you and creating crazy instruments, and they were like they are artists in this festival. And everybody is enjoying beer, of course. And very interestingly, a lot of them do camping in different sorts of places in all over the city, like behind the cinema or behind the theater. They will open everything that can have a camp, because and they will just go to a camp.
It is a very small town that they don't have enough of accommodation for all that people to come.
Yeah. So it becomes a very inexpensive event for everyone in the country to join. So it's really a fest.
And over there is the producer, Michael and Kara.
Yes.
And they have professional performance on the big stage and also amateur performance here and some open space performance with beer and music, yes. and next one is, I don't know how to pronounce, but it's a children art festival for in Subnek in Croatia. And it is another very old festival, 64 years. And it is organized by the National Theatre, and it's the only one state organized festival who focus on children. And the festival is supported by not only the public funding, but also some private funding. And they offer workshop for kids, performances, exhibition, film screening, filmmaking, and also the children will be journalists and critics of the performance. And the festival is like over 2 weeks, like 15 days, and a lot of 50 workshop and 70 performance. And because the history of the festival is so long that attending the festival is becoming a habit for the family, generation after generation. So you will bring the grandma will bring the grandson to the festival because the grandma was in the festival like when she was very young, and they have a very special technique that, because as a children festival, you lost your audience when they go up, but they hire or employ the teenager to come to work for the festival, and then as they grow up, they will be very honored to support the festival, like either doing donation or some sponsor or funding, and then it is a complete support circle. And they also collaborate with some local shops or musicians and to create a whole atmosphere for the festival. And then you see in the photo the artist is being interviewed by some kids, and they have a huge closing performance in front of the church, and then the party for the teenagers. That's important, with beer and a little bit money. And also Ivana, the producer of the festival,
Yeah, they try to, because the teenager are always those audiences that we are missing, because we all the time have the kids and then the parents, but where are the teenagers? That's how they do the strategy. Like, oh, I'll give you some money just to come and help, and like a summer job. So then they still attend the festival.
Attached with the festival.
Yes.
And you see this in this photo, like on this side is all the self-portraits of the kids around the country who cannot come to the festival in person. So they paint themselves and then send it to the festival, and it is being hanged in all over the old town. It's like, this is only 2 photos, and then we have a lot of, over 1,000 of this.
Yeah, and the tourists all came in, who is this girl? Who is this? And then they will all see the children in the country.
That's really crazy. And also the outdoor performance, you see, is just full of people over there.
And then, wow, Chun Chun, yay! By the way, this is why we start this project, because 3 years ago we joined Chun Chun for the first time, and we were so overwhelmed by the last parade and the show in the square. And then we suddenly thought, why don't we know this festival before? And then we talked with the other Asian festival directors, and then we said, maybe we should do this research that would show some Western and also Eastern festivals to each other. So Chun Chun Puppet Festival. So I think you would know more in these few days. I'll just give you an overview. So Chun Chun Puppet Festival is a significant cultural event focusing on puppetry in this country. And it is supported by the city and the state budgets. And the festival involves both professional and amateur performances, making it a diverse event. And the key features: the festival includes performances and a huge parades around the city center, making it an important annual event of this city. And the festival involves teams with a mix of international and domestic participants, making it a global event. Community impact: the festival engages citizens through various community projects and workshops and even fashion shows. Sometimes we saw it. And then the amateur competitions and also parades, with artists, citizens, and schools creating a deep community involvement.
And you see from the, this is shows, and also an art market who promote Korean arts to the producer around the world. And also last year we have a symposium over there. And this is I bet you will see the show on by the river, like in a few days coming. That they have a beautiful site which are theater, outdoor performances, and so on. And also this one is the winner of the amateur performance like 2 years ago. And then they have some different workshop, and the parade over there is like crazy. We saw the mayor dancing together with us like until midnight. So that's so crazy for us.
Yeah, the mayor. Can you imagine?
And then Pesta Ponica, which is an Indonesian puppet festival in Yogyakarta, organized by Paper Moon. It's supported by local and also international artists. And the festival includes performances, exhibition, and also community interaction. It's biennial with around 120 artists from 25 countries. And they have a section which asks the international artists to cook for the local people who supported the festival all the week. So the artists will go to the market, buy some food, and then prepare the food, and then cook some food for the local villagers. Yes, and you see they have some participation from the kids making puppet, and also some school tour, and international artists making food for the villagers, and also they turn a community center into a performing space. This is a swimming pool before, yes. And then like all the people stuck there, and then because it is in the middle of a village, so you don't see many people walking around, but once there is a show, everyone show up here. And then also some symposium over there, and then another outdoor performance space and full of people.
One very special thing is they didn't choose a big city. They choose a very small village that actually they founded in that place. So when you are a intellectual like foreigners, you go there, and then it's maybe the first time that the locals see any foreigners, and they are artists, and they are very, very like curious about you. So like puppetry arts and festival really serves as a bridge among the local community and the world.
Yes, and then?
Oh, and then Chicago International Puppet Festival, Puppet Theater Festival. So it is one of the largest puppet festival in the United States, and it started in actually only 2015. And yeah, it's actually very young, but it's huge, and it has since become a key cultural event. The festival is supported by community fundraising and private donations. Like it's very seldom that we didn't see a lot of government like sponsoring in a festival. So the key features, the festival features performances, workshops, and symposium. And the festival had 19,000 attendees in 2024 with 120 events, making it a very major cultural event. And the community impact, the festival engages the community through innovative fundraising methods like the Living Room Tour. Thomas Blair is really good at fundraising. The festival's presence in Chicago helps in promoting puppetry as a cultural asset.
Yeah, like this one is 2025 in January. We performed there. We talked in the panel discussion, and we gave a workshop in Chicago. And what amazed us is it was like minus 13 degrees outside, and people show up every performance.
Yes.
Every panel discussion, every workshop. And we met people who fly from Alaska to Chicago just for the festival.
Yeah, for the whole week.
For the whole festival. That's so crazy for us.
Yeah.
And they have exhibition. This is puppetry, not in the museum, right? This is puppetry.
This
okay?
is not science.
It's not science. And also community shows, and also some crazy midnight shows that I cannot show the photo of the performance because there is a kid over there.
Yes, very crazy one. Only happened in the States.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And festival in Montreal, Castellia. It is a performance. It includes performances, exhibition, and also community workshops. And the festival happened across multiple venues in the community, and it's a performance. It's focused on diverse puppetry form and also showcase local and international artists. And they have also community impact, like by workshops, parades, and also installation around the windows of different shops in the community. And I would skip because of the time. And also, like in the snow, minus 10 degrees, and people show up for the parade. And then they have different shows around in the community center, and all kind of different theater and all kind of different venues. And then
may I just add, the last two festivals, they intentionally choose not a peak season for the theater. So they choose they choose a season that there's no cultural events. So everybody has to go to puppet festivals in order to have some fun.
But that really extreme because like minus 10, minus 13 degrees, right?
Yeah.
And then the last festival is Kolowan Art Festival, which is organized by us, Rolling Puppet Alternative Theatre, in a very remote part of Macau named Kolowan. And it is the only festival in Macau to focus on puppetry and other alternative theatre performance, also cross disciplines. And the festival program offers a lineup of events, including performances by professional artists and also by emerging artists. Also community-driven activities like residency program, workshops, film screening, book bars, parade, and some unique community experience, like a soup market, which artists will sell the soup, make the soup and sell to the visitor, and also some breakfast adventure in order to build a boundary between everyday life and the art. And also we have like concert, disabled theater, and something, and film performance, and interactive film performance. Yes, and as the only festival in Kolowan, we transform a diverse range of private and public space across the community to become some special performance space, like squares, churches, community hall, and also some abundant house of the elderly.
Yeah, because there's no theater at all in Kolowan. We have to, but puppetry is the best method or best media to search for crazy place to perform. And all the puppet artists we invite from the world, they are like, they can perform in anywhere.
Yeah, this is photos performed in a community hall, and it was a theater there in Kolowan. It was our house of puppet.
Ours.
Our studio. And also we are walking, we let the audience to walk around in different spots of the community.
So really render like locals.
Yeah. And this is a book reading event over the night of the New Year's Eve. So we read together across the year, and we perform in front of a church and also in some abandoned houses.
Not abandoned, elderly house.
Yes.
So to activate the house a little bit, because there are also a lot of isolated elderly in the area.
Okay, observation.
Yes.
Oh, I will jump a little bit. Yeah. So they have similar goals to promote puppetry, and also festivals got different kind of support from the community by participating, of course, joining, buying the tickets, and also offering volunteers, and by donation, by sponsor with some resources, give them venues or give some service, welcoming the artists, and by showing ownership to the festival. This is very important. And we have some observation to conclude.
More or less the same. So I'll just read it. In conclusion, community engagement is essential for the success of any puppet festival, whether it is focusing in professional or in the public lands. Beyond ticket sales, this engagement manifests in various meaningful ways: fundraising, volunteer recruitment, sponsor collaborations, and the creative use of local spaces, all of which foster deeper connections. By inviting the community to contribute, whether through resources, time, or venues, festivals create a sense of shared ownership and goodwill, as people naturally enjoy the opportunity to give. Additionally, when artists engage beyond performances, such as sharing cultural food with locals, they bridge cultural gaps and create unforgettable, immersive experiences. Ultimately, these interactions strengthen relationships between artists and the communities, making the festival not just an event, but a cherished collective memory. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you for your time, and this is our email address.
Yes.
If you have more question or interest, just write to us.
Because we actually interview all the festival directors, and everyone spared 1 or 2 hours with us, including Professor Cho. So we have a lot of other insights, and also maybe something about budget too. If you want to know more, you can find us. Yeah. Thank you.
감사합니다. 여행 멀리 하고 오셨는데 또 많은 곳을 여행 다니셨습니다. 자, 조금 고단하시더라도 한 30분 정도 발제해 주신 내용을 토대로 해서 궁금하신 점 질문하시고 또 서로 코멘트 해주는 시간을 가졌으면 좋겠습니다. 우리 플로어에서부터 먼저 받았던가요? 패널 분들 따로 시작은 안 했죠? 네. 마이크 좀 부탁드리겠습니다.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. My question is for Ms. Cole. It was very moving to hear about the city, and I think because Singapore has very similar social issues, and so it was very moving to see what can be accomplished with like the town support. And I guess in Singapore, we see sort of similar projects happen, but always more on an ad hoc kind of basis because the government doesn't give that same support. So I also wanted to ask if you could share a bit more about how you go about communicating the success of the programs to the local government. Like with public funding, often we have to have some communication of metrics, performance indicators. So I wanted to know a bit more about how you went about that, and also, do you think the program would have continued if the public had not had such an outcry, or whether there was sufficient support from the government beyond that?
예, 나라마다 상황이 다르기는 한데 저는 일단 사회복지 쪽과 굉장히 많은 커뮤니케이션들을 했습니다. 사회복지 쪽은 커뮤니티 케어 정책을 만들어내야 되는데 이때에 사람들이 앞서 말씀드린 것처럼 문을 열어주지 않는다든지 본인의 기관에 방문하지 않는다든지 그리고 이후에 서비스가 종료되고 난 다음에 활동이 전혀 개선되지 않는다라고 하는 고민들은 많이 갖고 있었던 상태였고 그들은 앞서 말씀드렸다시피 또 펀드를 많이 가지고 있는 상태였습니다. 그래서 저는 이 예술가들이 지역에서 우울감과 고립감을 완화할 수 있는 활동들에 대한 그 프로포저를 문화 쪽 분야가 아니라 사회복지 분야에 적극적으로 프로포저를 했고 이야기를 나누었다고 말씀드릴 수 있을 것 같습니다. 그리고 이제 그들은 사회복지 쪽은 굉장히 수치를 중요하게 생각하는 집단이죠. 예술가들은 수치를 힘들어하는 사람들이고 그래서 이전과 후에 비해서 외로움이 실질적으로 어떻게 감소되었는지 그리고 병원을 얼마나 덜 가게 되었는지 지역사회 사람들과 전화량이 얼마나 늘어나게 되었는지 이런 실질적인 지표들을 활용해서 증명을 하게 되었습니다. 그런 활동들이 꾸준히 이어지다 보니 지자체에서는 조례라고 하는데 예산 마련을 할 수 있는 법적 근거가 될 수 있는 조례를 마련하게 되었고 저는 이 이야기를 적극적으로 언론에 홍보하게 되었습니다. 우리가 이렇게 예술이 우울감과 자살률을 예방하는 데 도움이 된다라고 하는 것을 적극적으로 홍보를 하게 되다 보니 지자체장은 기분이 좋아지죠. 네. 그래서 지역 지자체에서 문화와 예술의 역할에 예산을 반영하게 하는 과정으로 나아가게 되었습니다. 결과적으로는 사회복지 기관과 굉장히 많이 이야기를 나누었다. 보건 영역도 마찬가지고 구체적으로 평가를 지표화시켰다. 이야기하고 언론을 아주 적극적으로 활용을 했다는 것 그리고 실질적으로 정책에 반영할 수 있도록 조례나 법적 개정 노력을 했다라는 말씀을 드릴 수 있을 것 같습니다.
감사합니다. 대한민국에는요, 저는 중앙정부회의를 주로 하는데 각 부서 간의 벽이 굉장히 높아요. 근데 문화부는 너무 가난해요. 그래서 저도 오랫동안 자주 들리는 게 농림수산부가 쓰고 있는 예산을 어떻게 하면 문화 활동을 위해서 농림수산 관계자들이 행복하게 살 수 있을까? 건설교통부는 돈 많습니다. 그들이 뭔가를 그 많은 돈으로 해낼 때 그 공간들을 예술가들이 또 문화활동가들이 쓰게 하기 위해서 아예 처음부터 개입을 해서 어떤 사회적 공간을 만들어내는 일을 받아내는 일부터 시작하는 일들을 꽤 오래 해왔던 그런 과정이고요. 좀 덧붙이고 싶으시죠? 네. 그런 과정의 또 한 부분이 지금 복지와 관련되는 부분, 건강과 관련되는 부분으로 또 연결이 됩니다.
저는 관심을 가지게 되는 것이 한국의 OECD에서 자살률이 1위이기 때문에 어떻게 하면 덜 죽게 만드는 세상이 될 건가 하나랑 예술가들이 부자가 되는 것이 저의 관심사이기도 합니다. 그런데 예술의 성과나 영향을 증명하기가 너무 쉽지가 않는 부분들이 있어요. 이것을 이제 좀 예술의 언어를 반영해서 효과나 성과를 증명할 수 있는 지표로 만들어내는데 많은 고민들을 가지고 있습니다. 단순히 축제에 사람들이 많이 참여했다거나 사람들이 즐거워했다거나 라고 하는 그런 추상적인 지표가 아니라 실질적으로 어떤 변화를 보였는지에 대한 지표를 만들어내는데 고민을 많이 하고 있고, 그런 것이 지자체나 다른 부서 영역에 도움이 많이 되었습니다.
네. 한마디만 더 할까요? 제가 유럽에서 가장 큰 K-팝 콘서트를 조직을 기획을 했습니다. SM 타운 콘서트라고 큰 기획사에 전원이 다 참가하는 4시간짜리 공연인데 어디에서도 단 한 푼도 주려고 생각하지 않았어요. 결국은 여기서 저기서 돈을 끌어 모으고 그 해 파리에서 가장 비싼 콘서트를 만들어서 진행을 하게 된 적이 있습니다. 그러니까 돈 되는 쪽에서 돈이 안 되는 일만 하는 사람들이 돈이 안 되는 예술과 문화는 늘 관심 밖에 있는 상황인데 어떻게든 그와 연결을 시켜서 조금 길게 봤을 때 그 행복이, 그 건강이 수많은 돈을 아끼게 하고 행복하게 사는 삶을 이끌어간다. 근데 조금 어려운 상황이 되면 온갖 상상과 논리를 끌고 오는 일들이 많아지는데 저희는 한국에 오셨으니까 한국은 그런 상황에서 우리 문화예술가들이 계속 앞으로 싸우고 있는, 투쟁하고 있는 삶을 계속 살고 있습니다. 부자가 될 수 있을까요? 자, 다른 질문 또 받겠습니다. 아침 10시부터 너무 긴 시간이었나요? 혹시 우리 패널들께서 서로 간에 혹시 궁금한 점이 있으시거나 뭐 그런 것이 있으시면 또 말씀을 해주시죠.
Actually, for Rolling Tip Puppet Theater, I wanted to ask, what are you going to do next? I mean, are you intending to? Did you manage to collect enough documentation or videos or anything to create a documentary or anything of your work? Or
as I said at the beginning, that we are going to, because we got some funding from our government for the travel, so we have to submit a report up to now about the nine festival that we visited in last year. But of course, this is just a small part. There is thousand puppet festival around the world. So I hope after this experience we can go and as you said, we went to North America, we went to Europe and Asia, but we are missing South America, for example. The other part of Europe and also from China and other part Australia. So I hope we can have another phase, write a better proposal, and ask for sponsor for the next phase of the research.
Actually, this is we would love to see this research as a kick-off, because it's really moving for us to first. Like the first time, like what I said, the first time we saw the Chunqing one is like really moving for us, and I feel so pity that I never know this festival. Like even though I'm just 4 hours away from Korea, and it's a shame. Like we are professional puppet artists. We should know more about each other, and festival serve as a very good portal to understand another culture's puppet dynamics. So it would be. This is, I think, just a kick-off. It would be nice if we can start something that actually there is a a festival commission in the UNIMA, and it's really working hard too. And I'm also one of the committee in that festival, in that commission. And I hope that in the future, maybe we can do more, maybe online thing, not just we are doing the research, maybe everybody can also contribute more data, because I know the language is the biggest barrier for all of us to understand each other more. And like Macau has been a very lucky place that we learn and speak English since we are young. But a lot of countries, like even in mainland China or Japan or here, maybe English is not that popular. Like everybody speak it as a second language. But if we can find gradually in a way that festivals can communicate each other in an even easier method, then maybe we can circulate this puppetry arts everywhere even better, and there would be no war. I was told that if everybody in the world is a puppet artist, then there would be no war, and I believe in that. Yeah.
그래서 여러분들을 환영합니다. 그 춘천 인형극제가 또 우리 유니마와 더불어서 싱가포르와 마카오와 앞으로 함께 갈 것이다. 그러기 위해서 우리가 같이 또 여기서 모였다라고 생각하시면 뭐 틀림없을 것 같습니다. 어쨌든 제가 페스티벌 자체도 예술 감독을 맡고 있고 또 유니마도 제가 해야 되는 책임들이 있기 때문에 미래 사업들을 그렇게 쭉 펼쳐가고 있으니까 우리가 서로 창의적으로 재미난 것들을 만들어 가면 좋겠어요. 자, 마침 테렌스가 질문을 주셨으니까 저도 못했습니다. 혹시 플로어에서 질문? 네. 마이크 좀 부탁드리겠습니다.
Thank you for all this very interesting insight into the projects that you all have been working on in the last decade, let's say, put it like this. It's not a question, but maybe more like an idea, because I know that Chuncheon is also part of Aviyama, of the Association of Puppet-Friendly Cities. And Bochum, where I'm based, just became recently an Aviyama city, just last year. And I thought that this kind of border crossing projects, research, as well as social work projects, I think this should be something that Aviyama might be interested in supporting, if not in a high financial level, then at least in a with a spirit and mind, and help promoting and help making connections, because I think this is like one of the objectives of this association as well, to build bridges between cities, between nations, for puppetry and for the spirit of puppetry. So this is just, I wanted to just put this on the table as well.
감사합니다. 자, 그러면 10시부터 시작해서 지금 몇 시간 됐나요? 7시간 됐는데 너무 고단하실 테니까 정리할까요? 원래 우리 한국에서는 보통 국제 심포지움 할 때 이렇게 두꺼운 책을 나눠드려요. 준비하신 분들께 원고를 받아서 번역을 다 시켜가지고 이렇게 두꺼운 책을 드렸는데, 제가 역으로 제안을 우리 스태프들에게 한 거는 그러지 말고 질문도 주고받고 하는 그 조금 생동감 있는 현장까지 같이 담아서 책을 만들자라고 해서 오늘 여러 선생님들이 발제해 주신 귀중한 말씀들과 또 플로어에서 질문해 주시고 서로 함께 나눴던 그런 말씀들은 저희가 끝나고 나면 책을 만들어서 잘 전달해드리고 또 여러 군데에서 잘 보관하면서 좋은 자료로 쓰려고 계획하고 있습니다. 저희도 춘천 인형극제가 그동안 이런 연구를 한다든가 연구자들이 토론을 하고 어떤 새로운 생각과 성찰을 준다든가 하는 일엔 조금 소홀히 했습니다. 그래서 올해를 계기로 그런 부분도 쭉 발전시켜 가려고 생각하니까 오늘 같은 심포지움이 여러 연구자님들과 활동하시는 예술가들에게 앞으로도 계속 될 수 있도록 저희들 노력하겠다는 말씀 드리면서 오늘 하루 긴 심포지움 동안에 발표해 주시고 귀한 말씀 들려주신 여러분들, 또 좋은 코멘트와 질문 주신 모든 분들께 깊은 감사를 드립니다. 오늘 이상으로 마치겠습니다. 감사합니다.